What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ask an Installer Part 2. I'm New Type Sith. This is a channel for lightsaber reviews, news about lightsabers, and trying to learn a little bit more about what goes into these glow sticks that we all love. I'm going to let the guests go around and explain a little bit about themselves and where you can find them. I'm going to start with my co-host Babu.
Babu. Yeah, I install lightsabers. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, you can find me all over social media, but it's not me. As I've said multiple times, it's my wife. It's not me. So if she says anything, it's not me. Yeah. So whoever wants to go next, go for it.
I'll go next. So I'm Adam, also known as Verity Cosplay. I'm one of the Veracity Labs members, the primary CAD engineer for Veracity Labs. So if anybody's seen the Mom of All Heroes hilt that we put out at the beginning of the year, and we've got a bunch of upcoming stuff coming out as well.
All right.
And I'm Jeremy with Solo Sabers. I mainly do saber installs, but I do some etching and weathering as well, and mostly on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon for some, evening for others. Really appreciate you guys coming through. The goal of episode 2 is going to be a lot like the first one. If any of you have seen it, it's just kind of going over installs and what goes into these lightsabers that we all love. Basically, just starting from someone that likes to either install, collect, or whatever it may be. We're going to go through some questions. I guess we could just start right off. Upcoming hilts. As far as you guys, what are some upcoming hilts you guys are really excited for? Either that's in production or that's already about to be released. Whoever wants to go first.
What about ones that are on pre-order?
Or that are on pre-orders.
So
just any upcoming hilt.
Normally I'd say the V2 from Veracity, but because Adam's here, I don't want to toot his horn too much. So I'm going to go with the Spinflex by SP Sabers and Props.
Okay.
So that's the stunt of Anakin's and what he actually used. I am pumped for that thing. And it's got the carbon fiber rod that is held in 3 different places, so you can actually duel with it and beat the crap out of it.
Oh, wow.
I'm so pumped for that one.
That's sick.
It's not getting installed or anything, but I'm just excited to have it as a collector. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So aside from our own hilts and the V2, I'm actually really stoked for that too. As far as other people's hilts, I've actually got 3 that I'm super stoked about. The first one is the SP Sabers Phoenix Props Kylo V3, because I cosplay Kylo, so the definitive Kylo hilt. Any awesome Kylo hilt, I'm super excited about.
Yeah,
I am utterly frothing at the mouth for KR Saber's Scavenger Ray that they did. So he and Dennis Lukinoff kind of joined efforts to build KR Saber's Scavenger Ray with an operating aperture and everything. Wow. I'm super thrilled about that. And then the third one I'm super excited for is the Saber Bay collaboration with
I forgot about that one.
Gustav of the Dark Saber.
Oh wow!
So those are my 3 that I'm just saving pennies for.
All right, those are some heavy hitters. What about you, Jeremy?
So I'm excited about that Dark Saber from Saber Bay 2. But I'm also on the Spectre 6 run from Phoenix Props. That's something I've installed a lot of, but I haven't owned one yet. So I'm pretty excited to get my hands on that.
All right, awesome. That's sick.
That's a nice staple gun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what they call it. I can't remember.
That's what everybody.
They call it staple gun. Yeah.
It's cool though.
Yeah, blaster lightsaber.
Yeah.
How can you beat that?
All right. Well, we can just jump straight into it. Oh, hey Zach, what's up, man? Thank you for joining. Smash that like button. Yeah, everybody, if you're not subscribed to the channel, you know what to do. If not, it's all good. Thank you for coming. Get out. We're gonna go with easy one. What got you guys into Star Wars? What made you fall in love with lightsabers? And I'm gonna start it off with Adam.
All right. Well, so I've loved Star Wars since before I could remember. So my dad was a big sci-fi nerd. In terms of like Doctor Who, like the old like first 10 seasons of it and everything. And like I remember being like 7 years old, going to Return of the Jedi in the theater with my dad.
Oh, awesome.
And the first time that green saber lit up on the desert of Tatooine, like I was done. Like signed, stamp, delivered. It was all over from there. And then, so that was actually my first Star Wars movie that I ever watched, was Return of the Jedi. And then I went back and watched episode 4 and 5. What got me into lightsabers really, I mean, I think it's probably similar to a lot of us like DIY installers and builders, is, you know, my first real lightsaber was an Ultra Sabers.
Okay.
And, you know, much like many of us, and I got it, and, you know, I wound up just not being super impressed, right? It wasn't what I was hoping for. It was better than, you know, the toys and stuff that you get in Toys R Us, but it still wasn't what I really wanted. And so then I started looking at, you know, how do I get more involved and maybe just look for like better software, better hardware. And then I actually came across Frederick's stuff, Prophecy.
Okay.
And so I got into you know, Profi OS pretty early on with like the Teensy Saber V2, and I started building from there. And I actually have one of the first sabers I ever built, which was a Roman Mark I with a Teensy Saber V3 board sandwich in it.
Oh,
which was not an easy install because that is a tiny cavity. But yeah.
Well, that's awesome. What about you, Jeremy?
It was a New Hope, man. That Graflex. Yeah, and I didn't even know that there was a Saber community for the longest time. I've only been doing this for, you know, about 2 years now.
Okay.
So I found this video on YouTube where you can make your own lightsaber, and I made this guy from Home Depot parts.
Dude, that's actually
That
looks
sick,
pretty good,
dude.
actually.
That looks really
It was,
awesome,
really
dude.
It was kind of underwhelming when it was all done, right? And it took me 3 weeks to do, and I was just like, man, there's got to be something better out there. So I just started researching, and actually found the custom saber shop here in Idaho, because that's where I'm at too.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, I just went from there.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, that looks really good.
It does. Like that
I was
is
shocked
nice.
when you called it out. Yeah.
I've built hardware store lightsabers, and they're not half as good as that.
No.
I don't know what you
Thanks.
did, but that's pretty awesome.
yeah. Dude, that's
It
wild.
was a labor of love, but it doesn't light up.
That's so awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's sweet, man.
So like, are you like, besides like, you know, New Hope the movie, like, are you into anything else like Star Wars? Like, do you do any like other collecting besides lightsabers? Like, I think I've seen like you've had a helmet before. Like, do you like helmets or?
Yeah, I've got some helmets. I've got about 7 of them, but I mean, you know, all the wall space is done now, so
Yeah.
I'm not collecting any more helmets. But I got the few that I really wanted, but it's mostly sabers, man.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then as far as you, Matt, what about, you know, we've gone over it a few times.
Yeah, I've gone over a few times. Basically, like, I'm a nerd of everything else but Star Wars first. And I know that's blasphemy for me being an installer and saying that, but it's true. Like, you know, my wife runs the social media because she's the one that was into Star Wars, and we met, and she started talking about all the different forms, and I'm just like, okay, nerd.
Mhm.
And then she's like I've seen the movies, but she was so into it, and we started watching them together. And I was like, all right, I can get behind it. And I had bought her an empty, and then I looked it up. I'm like, I think I can do this. I'm like, I'm handy enough that I can install this. And so from there, it's been like coming up on a year, I think, that I've been installing. And I mean, it was all because of her. I mean, and that's just the truth. Like, I love Star Wars now, but before I wasn't like a huge fan. I knew of it and had seen all the movies, but you know, now it's definitely a little bit more special. But
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad it's special to you now for sure, because obviously, not only, you know, does it put a little, I feel like it puts a little bit more pride, like in everybody's work. Like, I don't know, I could be wrong, but especially like when you're doing a Canon rep or something, like, you know, and you want, you know, somebody's being real like specific, like, hey, like, I got this cosplay or whatever it may be, like, I need it to be. And like the fact that you guys can go in and just like do the best you can. Even like I've seen people, I just go by scenes, you know, like, hey, like I need it to look like it did in this scene. And like the fact that you guys can replicate that is just, it's mind-boggling. Like, and then like as far as not to put you on the spotlight again, but like Jeremy, like as far as like etching, like is that something you've done previously before lightsabers, or did you just get into that? Like,
I just taught myself how to do it.
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Through Call's video, and then there were some other videos out there, not for lightsabers, but for metal etching in general, right?
Okay.
So I just spent hours watching those and then put them together with Call's video, and I just taught myself. I mean, I ruined about 3 or 4 hilts before I feel like I got kind of the hang of it.
I mean, it's a trial and error type of thing, you know. It's got to be.
I'm just stubborn.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think you have to be stubborn to be an installer, right? Like, we encounter so many things when we're trying to wire sabers. Like, you've got to have the stubbornness to bust.
Dude,
through.
that was Cody's bane, and our friend Christian's bane. Christian unfortunately had the first one, and then Cody got the second run of it. But I'm sure you guys can agree that like after you've done the same hilt over and over again, you kind of get a pattern and you knock it out pretty quick. Yeah. But when it's a cram through hilt and it's your first time doing a cram through hilt, that is not a fun process. It's just not. It's rewarding when it's done, but the actual process, like you're ready to chuck the thing across the room. It's just the truth. Like Cody, your bane, it turned out great, but dude, I don't want to do those. I don't want to do those again. I will. I don't want to. I will, but it's just true. It's like you have to be stubborn. You have to want to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a person that gives up, you won't do it, you know.
And that actually relates to a kind of a question that I did have. What is like your favorite install that you guys have had that's like you're most proud of? Like it can be either a personal or it can be, something you've done for somebody else. Whoever would like to go first, more than welcome to.
Matt's pointing at me. All right, I'll go first. So I think my favorite install was actually a charity case, and I did it last year. There was, came across someone on TikTok, and they're like in their late 20s or something like that, and all they wanted for Christmas was a Kylo Ren lightsaber. And this person went to their parents, and their parents were like, basically grow up. You're too old to play with lightsabers.
Yeah.
And they were depressed, right? Like they were sad and stuff. And they were, they have a backstory. They had a backstory that was, heartfelt and heartstring. And like, that's all they wanted for Christmas. And like their parents basically were like, not going to happen. They didn't have the money to afford one. So I actually had gotten a hand on an empty KR hilt. And so I did the install. Like it wasn't a fancy install. I did a normal basic, Padawan type chassis with it and, pixels and everything else. But like their reaction on getting it and being surprised with, a NeoPixel Profi board KR crossguard saber, like it was just amazing. Like
that's awesome.
That was just one of those moments, like as an installer, you come across a situation where it's like, wow, I can do something to actually touch someone's life with it. So my favorite builds are always those ones that are charity.
Yeah. That's awesome. Go with Matt. We'll save Jeremy for last.
That's tough. I don't know. Like, I feel like every single one that I've most recently done is always my favorite. Like that, I don't know. Like, and that's usually what I'm most proud of because I feel like every single one you improve something. You found a way to get better. You found a way to manage the wire better, whatever it may be. So for me, it's whatever the one that I've done most recently. Like, I don't know though. Like that Octo Killer, that was a tough install, but that was a fun install.
Yeah.
Like once it's done, that one turns out gorgeous. Like
dude, that crystal chamber was.
It's just a pretty hilt. It just So when you get that done, it's pretty.
Yeah.
But the one that I have right now is the KRV2, and that's got a Rudy Pando. So. Okay. And that's my first Rudy Pando, so that will be my favorite because that's what I'm doing most recently, and those always turn out pretty. So I don't know if I have a favorite. It's just more of whatever I've done most recently.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, still though, like especially as like someone that starts installing, I guess like understand on certain aspects, like when it comes into the car world, like you start off somewhere like where your projects, like you're getting like self accomplishments like through little things, and then like when you start seeing like bigger pictures, like like I can always see it's like 3 years ago I didn't think I could be like driving this type of course or something like that. It's like you guys like 2 years ago you didn't think you could do a crystal chamber install, and it's like now it's like, oh, you want a Okay, cool. Yep. All right, no problem. Like it's just second nature at that point. So it's got to feel pretty rewarding just to be able to just like kind of look back and just, I don't know. I guess for me at least. So.
No, you're not alone. I mean, definitely. Like when I first set out to do it, I wouldn't be thinking I'm sitting here making NeoPixel blades and CAD designing runs for like, making hilts for the community itself. Like when I first set out to do it, it was like, I want to make sabers for myself so that I have something that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
And now here I am, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, and like we're doing runs for people, and they're so excited to see them. Like I never would have thought I would have been here.
Dude, that's awesome.
So,
and heck yeah. And then Jeremy, what about you, my friend?
That's hard, man. I don't know. I think I've got two. I mean, the first one is the first install I ever did. It was a Nano Biscotti and a Graflex. It was it was a Parks 2.0, and I was so stoked that thing fired up, and it was ugly as hell. But I put the battery in, and it fired up, and I walked around the house for a week, like, look what I did. That was awesome. And then I got this. My Star Killer over here was my first Profi install, and that thing took me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's no accents on it. I mean, I took the crystal chamber and I wired it in line with the blade, so I didn't have to mess with the accents. I was too scared, And so I keep that one around as a reminder too.
That's awesome. Dude.
Yeah,
that's super awesome. Well, I'm glad, dude. You guys is once again why you guys are so awesome. So as far as our good buddy Benji, it's up to you guys. You don't have to. He's wondering a Workbench tour. Would anybody be interested?
Mine's
more than welcome. Yeah, so obviously, if you can't,
mine's cleaned up and put away. I do my personal installs and any commission installs on my dining room table in my kitchen.
Okay.
So like, there's no real workbench there. I mean, I have a shop outside for like machining and lathing and stuff, but like, I don't really have a workbench per se.
Like, I mean, I'll pull down the veil you got my drill press, but that's about it. Like, there's nothing fancy going on. It's just a stool and a table. That's about it.
All right.
It's up to you, Jeremy. What about you?
My desk.
Like, you're not seeing my desk.
Yeah, I think that's the case, right? Like all these people think we have like this decked out, like fancy super Saber install state.
He's like, I got a 3D printer.
I do stuff on my dining room table. Like
I got a desk in those.
Sick.
Yeah, it's not that impressive.
That's fine with me, dude. That's cool. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's kind of basic. I mean, Benji, he has such an elegant, setup. This man has.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's extra on it. I love it so much, but at the same time,
let me see your lame setup, boys.
Get out of here. He's on putting him on. I have fancy. I love him.
If you really want to see all the cans on my desk, I will show you.
All the cans on my desk. That is awesome. Oh, Jesus. So, yeah, we got a lot of people in the comments here.
Awesome.
Greetings, guys. Dark Matter Sabers from Insta and the forums.
Dark Matter and I are good friends, and he and
awesome.
He and I actually live right next to each other, so we visit each other all the time.
Oh, awesome.
He was actually over here at my house just yesterday.
Ooh, advice for people wanting to get into do-it-yourself installing.
Oof.
Anybody can take the floor with this. And
I'll jump on the grenade and just say research, man. Do your research. And by research, I don't mean just ask a question. Like, if you're looking in the groups, type in the question in that group and see if the post pops up. Like, specifically the Profi group, right? Like, the question more than likely has already been asked. Somebody's probably already answered it. Just do your due diligence first. Now, if nobody's asked it, that's a completely separate thing. Go ahead and ask your question or reach out to an installer. Like, usually they'll be friendly and they'll help you out. They'll walk you through it. Like, I've said this numerous times. Arc Sabersmith, dude, I was lost when I first started installing, and he walked me, like, held my hand and lost me as a customer just to show me how to install. Like, I know that's how most installers are, but I didn't know that. I had no clue, and I thought that was pretty cool and pretty inviting. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, in addition to that, right? Like, I think one of the other big pieces of advice I can give someone is like, don't try to go with all the bells and whistles from the get-go, right? Yeah. It's like you're going to be learning, if you don't already know how to solder, right? You're going to be learning how to solder. You're going to be learning electric diagrams. You're going to be learning, you know, the ins and outs of soundboards and configuring and, you know, all these other things. So make the actual install itself as simple as possible. You know, like start with something like MHS parts and like an all-in-one chassis at like the Padawan level, as simple as it gets, just to get something working. And then don't be afraid to learn, right? Like, don't be afraid to explore and try things, because the worst you're going to do is fry a soundboard. Like, that's the worst that's going to happen.
Yeah. These days is a little pricey.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bad time.
Well, yeah.
It's a bad time. It's a little bit of a bad time. Oh, man, that's awesome.
And I would say almost everything you need is on YouTube anymore. I mean, you can learn about
Yeah.
CFX, Profi.
Yeah.
You got guys that are putting out install videos. There's all kinds of stuff. Spend the time watching the videos, but like Babu said, on those Facebook groups, make sure you check first, because they'll roast you if you ask something that's been asked already, unfortunately. But
Oh, yeah.
you know, there's a lot of stuff there that you can look at on your own.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
And I like Matt's idea of, you know, find sometimes it's good to find a mentor, someone who's willing to like
Yeah.
be your kind of go-to question person, like as you're learning. Like, that's a great way to do it too. You know, strike up a conversation, build a friendship, and then from there you can, you know, have that avenue to be like, okay, I'm stuck with this thing. How do I solve this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's wild too. Like I know, because that's how Daniel was with me. That's how I am with others now. Like,
Right.
there was this guy, Mitch Rowe. I don't know if he's watching or not, but me and Carlos from Kessel Run, you know him, Jeremy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Both of them.
he's
Yeah.
kind of like you mentor him a little bit. You and Sorok Sabers, right?
Yeah.
And me and him helped him with his first install. So it's just like it's a circle, right? Like, I guess if you're going to start installing, my biggest advice would be treat others how you want to be treated once you become that level. Like,
Yep.
Don't be afraid to pass the knowledge on. It's kind of part of it. It's how it keeps the community going. It's how it keeps the installers going, because installers do drop like flies. Everybody gets burnt out. Well, not everybody, but most get burnt out at some point. So
Yeah.
to keep it going, pass that knowledge on. Keep it going. Don't let it stop. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I try my best to help. I mean, I'm not always as responsive, you know, as I'd like to be, but I do try. And
No, dude,
your
you
videos
help a
alone.
lot, dude.
Videos alone.
Yeah.
You help a lot.
So we can help these guys come up, and then they can be the next gen, or
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah, they could teach
You know,
us some stuff too, for sure.
and-
Because I'm always learning.
And that's the thing too, is don't be afraid to learn. Like,
Yeah.
that's another big thing. Don't be afraid to learn a new skill set. Like, if
Yeah.
you're considering doing etching, watch Jeremy's video, learn how to etch, do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you. You can buy cheap aluminum pipe and just learn. There's nothing wrong with that. The one thing I will say is
Cube at Home Depot. Yeah.
be careful
Yeah.
with chemicals. Be very careful with chemicals.
So, interestingly, I do a lot of my etching that's like not actual acid based. So when I'm doing etching, I typically do electro etching.
Oh, okay.
So when the current is not running through it, it's just salt water.
Yeah.
So I tend to do a lot of my etching that way. I mean, it takes longer because it's not as aggressive, but it's completely safe. And I have kids at home, so like, I don't
Yeah.
want big giant jugs of acid floating around that they might get into. So I tend to do a lot more electro acid, like electro etching, than actual straight up acid.
Yeah. I've never tried that.
Yeah, you just basically get a really heavy salt water mixture and then
Mhm.
like run current through it. So like an old car battery or like a jump thing. You can even do it as low as like a 6 or 9 volt. It's just depending on how much current runs through
Yeah.
determines how aggressive the etch is.
Really?
Yep. So I use an old car battery to do it.
Gotcha.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yep.
I had no clue.
No, me neither.
My friend Benji. Yeah, we're friends, buddy.
Don't be like
Publicly.
that and shaking vape
Actually-
aluminum.
Yeah. Don't open up the container into your face.
Oh, you gotta
Not a good plan.
You gotta tell that story, Matt. That was
So I
pretty-
did on Friday, but I don't know if everybody
You
knows
should tell
that
it again
story.
because it's
Yeah,
brutal.
might as well.
Okay.
You may as well.
Awesome. So learn from my stupidity. So, not paying. I've messed with aluminum black a bunch, and like my method is I basically throw it on the entire saber. So I put it in this like cereal box container. You guys have seen those where it keeps the cereal from going bad. And so we don't use them anymore because we don't buy cereal anymore. And I'd put aluminum black about like that thick, and the hilt was nearly covered entirely. And I take it and I shake it, and then I open it up and I take it and I sand it down with like 400 grit sandpaper, and that's how I do the weathering. And this time, though, instead of being outside a well-ventilated area with glasses on, and probably a respirator would have been smart too, I instead was inside right here and decided to shake it right here and open up in my own face. And so instantly, burning nostrils, burning eyes, instant cough, like horrible. So I luckily had the SDS sheet right near me because union, right? Like we are all about safety. And so I had it right there and I read it. It says, yeah, you need to like wash it out. Don't inhale it. It says it right there. Don't inhale it. Well, I just breathed in a black sparkly cloud. So that's kind of too late. I've inhaled it. And I jump in the shower. 15 minutes later, I'm fine. But as the day goes on, like I start to get worse and worse. Like my cough sounds like I have like something really bad is going on. And so I reached out to Cody and I told him what happened. And he goes, dude, like you probably want to go to the ER. And my wife has been saying this the entire time.
I'm like, dog, you need to go.
And I'm just doing the man thing. Like, no, I'm fine. I just need to.
Telling you the entire time.
Oh yeah, she was.
All of this, yeah.
And I was like,
would you listen to your friend? Yeah, that's
basically. And so I gave you the credit, and she was pissed about that. But anyways, I get home at 6 a.m. that night or next day, whatever. Had to do breathing treatments, get x-rays. Now I'm on an inhaler. And then in 2 weeks, we'll find out if there's actual permanent damage or not. But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do what Matt did.
No.
I've never weathered a hilt like that.
No?
No.
Dude, it makes it so easy, like, because it's coated. So you can get that nice thick coat and then slowly scratch it off. So like those deep grooved areas are filled in already. You don't have to do anything. I mean, it's the I don't know if you saw the scrap flex that I posted. That's how I did it.
Yeah.
Like literally just scratch some stuff off and you're done. Clear coat it. That's it. It's easier. But
I don't know if I want to try it now that you got that.
I don't know.
I'll stick with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Less hazardous.
Oh man, we got some awesome people in here. What's up, Knit the Grit? I love that guy. Gas. Jesus. Jeff, hello. Thank you. Chemical burn. Oh, and then we got a question from Gin and Tonic. Lessons you've learned the hard way while installing.
I just listed it.
Yeah, that's one.
I just told the story.
Told his. So
all of them.
Adam or Jeremy, if you guys have had any.
My biggest lesson that I've always learned is like, and I have to learn this like every 3 sabers or so because I get complacent. Test your components before you get them uninstalled.
Yeah. Right.
Because like inevitably what happens is you're always going to get like a bad LED. Like I literally just did a Inception install, which I now, by the way, that build is, I've nicknamed Emily Rose because it is literally the worst build I've ever done. I did a Inception install and like I wired the crystal chamber up, got everything installed. Crystal chamber LEDs don't light up. So start getting in there with the voltage meter and everything else, currents there, everything else is just they were bad LEDs. So I pull them out and I'm like, all right, wire, replace the LEDs, put it all back together, do it again. This time, one of the crystal chamber LEDs lights and the other one doesn't. So in that particular case, like I had to do 3 installs of the same crystal chamber going through 6 different LEDs and 50% of them were bad. So I that was one of those where it's like, I've always have done component testing before installing, and then you get complacent because you're like, oh, everything's just working, all the components working. You go through a few installs that way, and then you just stop testing them, and then what happens. And then you go back to got to test all your components beforehand. So that would be one of my biggest pieces of advice, like test everything before you put it all in the hilt. Otherwise, you're going to be tearing the hilt apart again.
Yeah, no, and that's you don't want to do that constantly over, especially something like an LED or something small. That would not be fun. Yeah. What about you, Jeremy?
All of them. All of them. I don't think I've done anything the easy way one time. I don't know, man. From from soldering to putting the battery in backwards, which I did when I first started, and
I love your video.
Something that I harp on now. Yeah,
that compilation the other day had me dying.
From Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Just practice and pay attention, and yeah, test your components for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that goes with anything, though. I guess like whatever you're fixing, I like to. What's that rule? It's like always measure twice or whatever it is. Cut once. It's kind of like the same thing with anything else, you know.
Yeah, seriously, that's the saying, and that was the saying in plumbing. It was, measure twice, cut once, always. Because inevitably, what happens is somebody cuts short, and then the whole run of the pipe has to be redone because it's all glued in or soldered in, and you're screwed.
Done it so many times. You have no idea.
Oh, I've done that.
Oh gosh, I'll just be like, I'm fine. I'm dead on.
Even in the Saber world, you cut a measure of wire because you want to run those wires as short as possible for wire management purposes, right? And then you don't think about the various corners and everything that you have to run through to get there. By the time you get to the board, you're like, I'm 3/4 of an inch too short. Then you
but I measured it
back down apart and run the new wire again.
That's so funny.
So I've given up on that. I just always cut off a foot of wire no matter what I'm doing, and just cut it later.
Yeah, that's once again, for me, not I want to start doing installing and stuff eventually. Matt's trying to get me to start, learning just to do for myself. And I know for me, with cars and stuff, I run into issues like that all the time. And it's so funny. I know other hobbies obviously do it, but dude, I always love hearing it because when I tell my friends about the stuff you guys deal with, they're just mind blown. They're like, dude, it's kind of crazy. You have to straight up try to troubleshoot so many things, especially when you're doing repair work. I guess on my end, I know Matt does repair work. If anybody else does here, if you do fixes or anything, do you try to avoid them, or does it kind of feel rewarding when you can get in there and fix whatever was really wrong? Or
I think it depends on the fix. I'm not going to name names, but there have been some installs from some Saber companies where I've gotten a Saber for them, and I just decided it was easier just to rewire the entire Saber because it was legitimately unsafe. They'd be using something 30 gauge wiring for a main NeoPixel blade. I'm that's just, you're just asking for a fire.
Yeah.
So in those cases, I'll just rewire the entire Saber. So I think it really depends on the case.
Yeah. To me and Cody talked a little about this today. I'm not going to name which on my commission list, but there's a couple that I reached out to them today, and I was I'm just letting you know, I'm not going to charge you more for labor, but I'm rewiring this whole thing. I was I can't in good conscience have it come through my door and send it back to you like this.
Right.
They just wanted a new speaker, and I just looked at it. And I'm there's no way I can send it back this way. I just can't do it. And I think the hard part for me for repairs, though, is you guys can print your own chassis. I'm not there yet. So that's where I struggle, where I'm hey, I know I was just supposed to replace this, but now I have to look for a chassis to fit this. And that's the hard part for me. So that's where repairs I struggle with, is because I have to grab a chassis. I can't just make one and print it. But
I don't typically take any repair work if it's from other people. There's just too many unknowns, and it's stuff like that, right? If somebody wants a speaker, but then I end up having to redo the whole thing, which I've had to do. It's just it's very time consuming, and then I don't trust it, and then all of a sudden you put your name on it, and you don't know what's in there. So I don't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's why, because for me, for instance, I wouldn't want to buy something that's already been I guess half destroyed, because then I'm just gonna have to, or for instance, something modified. I'll put it that way. Big saying is I'd rather build a car from scratch than fix someone else's headache they've had for years. Yeah. And as far as you guys, I guess having to do it as for lightsabers, I guess that's got to get pretty tough, especially I know I've talked to Matt a little bit about doing conversions from the Force FX I heard
Never
like
again.
that's
never
just
do it
like
again.
not a fun time. Like
they're not pleasant. That is not a pleasant experience. I've done that twice, and I don't really have an appetite to ever do that again. It's not a fun thing.
No, and the problem I had with it is that there was no good way. Like, I found a blade holder finally, and even then, like, it still didn't feel 100% secure because that's not what it's meant for.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's where I was like, I'm just letting you know, like, I'm going to send this to you, but you definitely can't beat the crap out of this thing. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
And after that, after I found out what people actually charge for it, I was like, well, I'm an idiot, and I did that for way too little. But I won't touch them anymore. And it's funny, after I posted the one, I got hit up like 6 or 7 times, and I just told them all, like, here's where you can go for that. They specialize in that. I'm not going to do that. There's no reason for me to touch that anymore.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. We got a question here from Jeff. Had a question for you guys. Was wondering about Smuggler's Outpost. Just wondering a little history about it. Still baffled on how well the Saber community works together in competitive business. And that is really cool about like the Saber community. Like, dude, there's so many other companies that just shot out like other companies, or like maybe some don't, but like I have seen a lot. Like, you know, they like to collect from everything themselves, you know, because most people that build these are also collectors. They're also people. I really haven't met too many other ones that like aren't passionate about it themselves. So for me, I feel like that would be a little bit of it. But I don't know. Do you guys have anything to?
Well, I'm in Smuggler's Outpost. And it's not really competitive for us. I mean, we help each other out. You know, we each do something different. I know Albert and I both install a lot, but we have a different clientele.
Okay.
We just kind of help each other out. Like if I'm low on boards or if he needs something, we got Rob that machines, and we got Pete that etches. I mean, we just all work together because there's room for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
It's a team.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, the same thing is true. Like a lot of my good Saber friends technically, you know, on paper are competitors, right? I mean, there's Cal and there's Justin and there's, you know, all these guys, and you know, I think it's true. We're all super passionate about the hobby, and so it also creates these opportunities for collaboration.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, our upcoming V2, it's got a ton of names on it because everybody's coming together and collaborating for it. And so, I mean, I love seeing that stuff when, you know, we're individually, technically we're competing, but for something for the community, we can all come together and do something, you know, special. And I love that.
Yeah. So the customer walks
you don't
away
see
happy,
that
right?
very many other industries.
Yeah.
And I think all three of you guys spoke to it, right? It's for a love for what it is. Like, everybody loves the lightsabers and what it is, and that's the community part that's awesome, right? Is that's why installers get along. That's why designers of hilts mostly get along. Like, that's the main reason, right? Is because everybody has a love for it, and that's what drives it. So I think that's why the Saber community works so well. It's not a typical competitive business. It's not big business. It's you know, it's these people. They're people.
Yeah, dude.
You actually see them in the community. You actually see the people.
This community may seem large, but it's a lot smaller than people really seem to realize, especially when you start getting down to like the custom lightsaber community. Like, we are not as large as people think. Like, just because, you know, you'll see a TikToker's video with thousands and millions of views, or you see a YouTube video with millions of views, doesn't mean those millions of people own one of those lightsabers. Like, they most, you know, just happen to stumble across it, or they just, you know, they like Star Wars. So it's like, when you start getting into like actually like companies that are building it, like parts and just anything, like even when it comes to font makers, like people don't realize like it's not as big as people think, you know, like it's crazy that, you know, it is honestly, for me, it's wild that it is as big as it is. I'm very happy because I am very passionate about it and love it. But it's like, for me, like, dude, a year ago, you would have told me I would have been like hyped on a lightsaber or anything like that, dude. You best believe no. I'd be like, yeah, like I can't wait to watch the new series or whatever. But like, as far as like collecting and learning like all the electronics and just everything that goes not just into installs but everything else around it, like even like when it comes to like saber guilds and like fighting aspect, like I watched a video, like, dude, in like in, what is it, like France or something, like they're trying to make it like an Olympic sport or something. And it was just like mind boggling. It's like, all right, like I've been sleeping under a rock for a long time, like a real long time. So it's like, for me, it's just, I don't know. It's wild.
I mean, I think part of makes that challenging, right, is like you've got a few of the major manufacturers, right, that then have a bunch of resellers that drop ship. So you create a whole cloud of like small sellers that are basically reselling a couple of major manufacturers. And that's how you get something like the DX fiasco that happened, right? But a large part and portion of those are fine, but there's a ton of those. But when you get past that and you actually get into like the hilt designers, that group gets a lot smaller really, really fast.
Yeah.
And most every one of us knows each other or knows of each other.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, as far as like me, like I think I've explained it like on a few other streams, maybe not like one of these, but like once again, like someone that just started, especially like when I started doing the YouTube stuff, my only involvement was me watching other YouTube videos of it. Like I didn't know there was Facebook groups. I didn't know anything. And one day, because I'm in a bunch of other groups for my other hobby, obviously, I was like, there's got to be something. And I was like, oh, wow, there's a few. So like then getting into it and seeing like, dude, because, oh my gosh, like I look back at some of my other videos and like I need to like retitle them because like I'm like, oh, this is how you work a Profi. It's like, no, dude, that's how you work a Dark Wolf Profi. Like, no, you idiot. Like, but that's the thing. Like, you know, like diving in, it's just so much more than you'd expect. It's more than meets the eye, you know, some Transformers corny stuff, like for sure. Like every time I've seen something on a page or some guy did something where it's like, I'm not going to say his name because I actually know it, but I don't know if he wants the technology out, but it's like you put your hand closer to the light and it's like it starts to illuminate brighter and brighter and brighter, and it's like trying to involve this with lightsabers and stuff like that, and it's just like, what is just, I don't know, it's mind-boggling, especially to have something like this and it can damn near, and at least in a video, seem realistic, I guess. Yeah, which is still blows my mind. Like the old like Jesse talks about it, like if you watch Jesse's older like font videos, it's like the blade seems damn near real. Like you're just like, this dude has a lightsaber at his house. Like it's crazy. But then you see like high quality and it's like, oh, I can see that it's a stick. Like I see this now. So that's another thing that like I think Matt and I have talked about, like the whole play with like video quality and you know how things work with that. Like it's crazy, dude, because I feel like certain things, I guess, like people get mistaken. Like they'll buy a lightsaber, especially like if you're buying it not from the Saber community. You just see a video like that and they're like, all right, I'm buying this. Like I sadly have seen it. Like I've actually seen certain people's reaction videos that are not lightsaber people, and they've bought like, you know, an LGT or something cheaper, and they fire it up and like the disappointment because it was like daylight. You know, they had the curtains open and they're like, what? And I'm like, dude, that's gotta suck, because he's seen a video, he's like, this thing's gonna be wild, and it's just like the stick is different color now. Like that's it. So I don't know.
I had somebody reach out and they said that. They go, hey, I got a NeoPixel lightsaber and I'm just not happy with it. I go, okay, well, what are you not happy with? I just don't like the way that it looks. Like your video looks so much better. I was like, yeah, I'm like, but it's a video. I was like, it's overexposure. That's not what it actually looks like. Like you have to break it down and explain. And then he took a video and then sent it to me and I go, see, and I compared his video to mine. I'm like, see, it looks the same. I was like, so it's the video. It's not going to look any more impressive.
Benji's just in the comments, just terrorizing, of course. Yeah, you can register these nuts. I love you, Jamie.
I only saw like something about a throwing axe go by, and I'm like, oh dear.
I'll handle Benji in the background. Don't worry about him.
Dude, like I started reading it, I was like, oh my god, Waffle House Battle Royale. All right, here we go. Jeez. Oh, dude, I never mind. I have an idea. One day I just need to get a stream, have you and Benji, and the whole background of this is going to be like inside of a Waffle House. Like, oh my god, we need a green screen somehow, just hanging out at a Waffle House. Can I please just get a waffle? I don't know if you guys have seen that video, but It's bad. This guy's just trying to order food. These dudes are fist fighting like behind the counter, and this guy's just, can I please just get a waffle? Like he doesn't care. He just wants his food. It's so funny. That's every time I see you guys memes. You don't think they all? Oh my gosh, he's ridiculous. Anyways, all right, Nerf herder, you come here to this stream trying to sabotage us. How dare you? No. So one of my funny questions, the only funny question to me, I think it's hilarious. What's your guys' favorite lingo on like lightsabers? Like, is it like the whole burrito things? Like, what do you think is like actually like? Oh, dude, I thought it was hilarious first time I seen it. I was like, what is? I thought this guy was literally like having his Taco Bell menu, and I was like, oh, this man's selling a bunch of lightsabers. Like, and I was like, what is going on?
I actually like to use different ones depending, right? So if I'm dealing with like a pair, something like an Ahsoka's or something, I like to call them taquitos.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And if it's a full size saber, then I usually use like burrito.
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 Okay. Burrito for you. What about you, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Burrito.
I came in knowing them as burritos, so you can post them for sale.
Dude, that's just to me still the like funniest thing. Like it has to be for people that are just full on. Like, that was me a couple months ago. Like,
yeah,
it is. Because I think I've seen the post a couple times. People be like, what does this mean? Like, it's like, all right, listen, you can't say sabers because you're going to get canceled. So this is what you got to do. And to me, it's like whoever came up with the whole like burrito and all that, I say it like, jeez, that's so funny. Burrito, yep. Tortilla.
Oh, there you go.
Tortilla.
Tortilla, there you go. Springside. Oh, man.
I like that. Burrito for installed and tortillas for empties. That's nice.
Yeah, that's smart.
That's actually smart.
So, Adam,
yes.
Going a little bit more directed at you. So, as far as CAD designing these hilts that you go through, like, what is the process that goes into all this? Like, do you like mirror image? Like, how do things like start for you?
So, I mean, we do a bunch of different things. So one of the things that makes Veracity, I think, different than most other designers is we're actually using sound mathematical science in our design.
Okay.
So we use a technique called photogrammetry.
Okay.
And it was originally a science developed for aerial survey, actually. So like they'd send a plane overhead with a camera and they'd basically record multiple positions of photographs between like a city and a nearby mountain or a city and a nearby lake. And they would do that to basically calculate distance for cartography and maps and GPS and, all the rest of that.
Okay.
And so that's how it began, was for aerial survey to basically calculate distance between landmarks. Well, a bunch of students, grad students at MIT, like 15, 20 years ago, figured out how to take that general science and adapt it to small objects at close range.
Okay.
And so from there, a whole bunch of mathematical science came out from that, where, you see a ruler next to a some object where you don't know the design, and because there's like photographic skew and perspective and everything else, there's a whole series of math that goes into figuring out the size and dimensions of that unknown object in the picture with the known object.
Okay.
And so what we do is we've basically adapted that science into our lightsaber design. And so like you take like the hero, for example, right? There's a plethora of photos of the hero out there, some of which are next to known objects like a ruler or, a Graflex that has a clamp, which we know the measurements of those because there's a million, vintage Graflex clamps going around. And so what we did is we applied a lot of that photogrammetry math and science to calculating and figuring out all the dimensions. And so when we designed our hero, like it all starts with that, right? It starts with a ton of math. And I use a 3D modeling suite specifically designed for photogrammetry called Zephyr. And that's kind of the first pass, right? Is to kind of get a series of anchor measurements of known. So like on the Hero, the anchor measurement we figured out was the main body diameter matched that of a Graflex.
Okay.
Body. So like, because it has the weird lit up control box and the gear and everything at the back, but that main body tube below the grenade, the diameter of that is the same as a Graflex flash gun, or awfully close by the map.
Okay.
And so once you have an anchor measurement, then it becomes a case of overlays over multiple photographs, using that photogrammetry, and then basically calculating everything else on the hilt from that. And so that's what we've done with the Hero. That's what we've done with the V2. You know, the V2 is easy because the Graflex clamp is actually on the hilt. So it's, you know, you have your anchor right built onto the hilt.
Yeah.
For Leia, we did the same thing. So we took the end cap, the very back of the Leia hilt, and we determined, because it exists on screen with a Graflex, and accounting for the photo, because the Tatooine shot, right? She takes both. She takes the Graflex and the Leia and sets them next to each other on the sand on the blanket to bury them. Well, accounting for that photographic skew, we figured out the end cap of the Leia is that same dimension. It's also the diameter of a Graflex. So the very, very back, that whitest part, that little silver part of the Leia pommel, is a diameter of a Graflex, as best as we can tell. And so when you have those kind of anchor measurements, you can derive everything else from that. And that's generally how we approach the CAD design from an accuracy perspective.
Wow.
Then we get into the cases of figuring out all the little features, right? Like, what is the phantom ring on the back of the Hero? And what is that mysterious mill mark that's on the V2 between the cubes and the pommel? You know, so then we get into a lot of research there and trying to figure out all those little subtleties once we have the main milestone measurements and dimensions figured out.
Dude, that's insane.
That's wild.
And now, like, as far as like runs, how many runs have you guys done? Or are you guys starting?
So we've done 3 batches of the Hero.
Okay.
At this point, so that's basically 3 runs of the same hill, and we're about to send both Leia and the V2 into production, so they're going to get started to get fabricated.
Wow.
So both of those hilts we're targeting probably somewhere before towards the end of summer to be shipping to customers.
Wow. Okay. Now, and
I didn't know it was that soon.
Yeah, so we're actually hoping that we're going to open orders for both of those probably sometime at the end of this month.
Okay.
Thick Fillet in the building. I absolutely love this guy's name. It's Thick Fillet, dude. It's so good. We got a lot of comments here. I'm sorry, guys. We got to show some love. We got 21 people watching. Thank you so much for everybody, once again, taking time out of your night. It's really cool. Way much.
But yeah, the thing to add to that, right? Like, getting back to the original point of helping others, right, and helping the community. At this point, through our Hero work, like, we've got a research thread on the RPF, and at this point, it's the largest, most centralized, comprehensive amount of knowledge on the Hero prop in one place, in a permanently documented form on the RPF. And that was the thread we started, and put all the information, all of our findings, and everything has gone there. And we're going to be doing the same thing. Like with the V2, one of my partners was the one who found the mystery chunk. Like, that's been searched for 30 years. Yeah, Brian Rogers. Rogers was the one who found it.
Didn't he find he got the correct card too for the mount, right?
Yep. We believe we found the correct card now as well.
That's sick. Becca has a question. How long does it usually take to map out the measurements like that?
So we're getting faster at it. So the Hero from start to finish took Brian and I probably about 13 or 14 months to go from beginning to end. Now, in contrast, because now we were also figuring out the process, right? Like, what is kind of the development iteration? What's the process? What's the cycle look like between, okay, try something, check it, overlay, check it, run it through photogrammetry again, check it. You know, we were finding the process as we went. So the Hero took about 14 months to design from start to finish. By contrast, both Leia and the V2 both took about 4 to get to where we feel that they're accurate, 100% accurate. Because I mean, more calendar time than that has elapsed, but we've got other things going on too. Yeah, Crystal Chamber run and more hero batches and logistics to go. So like pure sheer design time, like we've cut about 10 months out of that process just from refining that. So hopefully we'll get it down to like, 1 to 2 months to basically get really accurate designs and send them out.
I didn't realize it took that long.
Yeah, hero took forever. And that was actually the circumstance in which Brian and I met. And we started that in March of 19. And we actually shipped hilts to people, I believe, January of 20. Is when we actually got them shipping out. So
not bad.
It took about almost a year and a half.
But to like completely design something from that aspect, I mean, that's insane, dude.
Yeah,
that's actually really awesome. Benji said, have y'all had the chance to install your unicorn hilt? What is that like? Is he referring to? Do you guys have one, or is that everybody?
I think he probably means all of us.
Yeah, you guys.
Like
the whole
unicorn, like
your one and only. If you could choose one, that's your one that you would keep.
Oh, I mean, for me, yeah, because I mean, the big reason we started with the hero is that's the Saber I've always wanted, right? I mean, as I started with the story, right? Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars movie I saw in the theaters, with my dad. And like, yes, I know the V2 was the one that was spent most of the screen time, but I was one of those people that walked away with, the hero being what was burned into my mind. Like, yes, I know the V2 was the one. Right. And so that's the hilt I've always wanted, and I wanted it done right. And so, yeah, I mean, I've got the prototype Mom of all heroes with the prototype crystal chamber, and it's installed, and it's, this is definitely my unicorn. So
sick. That's awesome. What about you, Jeremy?
Yes, I did install my unicorn. This is an etched brass flagship from Carl Danby. He etched it in a Predator theme for me.
Oh, that's the one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw you post that.
Yeah, that thing was hot.
I put some stuff in here and
stuff.
Stuff.
That's so awesome. What about you, Matt?
No, because I don't think I have a unicorn. I know that's a unpopular thing. I don't. Like
everybody's got a unicorn, Matt.
It changes day to day. It really does. Like my wife can attest. I'll be like, "This is my favorite one." No, this is my favorite one. It really does change every day. But the number one, I mean, me and Adam talked about this, is V2. Like that's my one, but I would never install it. So I wouldn't install it anyways.
If each of you could own a burrito for the rest of your lives, if you could only have one saber, that's it for your own personal collection, would it be the ones you guys just showed?
No.
Jerry's like, no. Is it just impossible? It's like you can either have a bunch or none, right?
I've got an empty vintage Graflex that I would probably hang on to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's mine. It's converted to a New Hope. I'm not touching it.
I don't have any vintage, so I mean, if I had I suppose if I had an original vintage Graflex or something like that, it would be it. But no, for me, it would be the unicorn I have, the MOM.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I guess for me, because I can actually answer this. Not as an installer. Finally. No, I'm just kidding. Probably my Bane as of right now. But as far as time goes, sounds weird. I'm really starting to get into the Kanan Jarrus hilts a lot. I did not expect to really start liking them, and it's become kind of an issue because probably gonna have to spend money soon because I'm gonna buy another Saber. You know how it works, and they're expensive though.
Well, that one's hard to find.
Dude, those are hard to find, and it's I get it. Got to spend money. Get what you pay for. It's good stuff, but. That one hilt, what was it, over 5 empty? I was like, that hurts my soul.
Unpainted,
just hurt my soul. Aluminum. I was like, try
a Phoenix Props Kylo V2.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, what was that, 700 empty or something like that?
Right now. That's my personal Kylo, is a Phoenix Props V2.
Ooh.
That hurt. That was $1,500 empty, unpainted.
That's gnarls, dude.
Yeah,
that is gnarly.
Bad. It was bad. Those were dark.
1,500.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's insane. So used to hearing Grail piece. Jeremy, you made my list. The Saber is sick. You know, all the love, dude. Thick fillet again. Apparently you know thick fillet, so we don't know. Who's thick fillet? I don't need to know.
I have to do some research.
Yeah, like now I need to figure this
Who
out.
is that?
The
Yeah,
box didn't say thick fillet when it showed up at the house.
what if it did? You're like, whoa, what's going on?
You mean that's not the real name?
Dude, I wish. It's like the greatest name ever. Check out the can I did a couple months ago here on YouTube. Definitely got to check that out. Oh, all right. What time is it? Oop, it's 6. Now we're in. How's everybody feeling? Now we're in. Everybody's feeling good?
Yeah.
Everybody, right? Questions? You guys bored yet? You ready to just peel out of here, or you good? You know?
Good.
All right.
Good.
All right, good. No, I'm just messing with you. Nah, we're all good. We're chilling. Oh man, trying to think of questions here. As far as blades, what do you guys prefer? Is what's your favorite blade to have for an install? Like, do you like to go by sizing? Like, would you rather have with a KR blade? Would you like to make your own blade? Like, what's your take on blades as a whole?
I don't like making blades, but I prefer to make my own.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Like I hate making blades. Like legitimately hate it. Like it's my least favorite part for sure.
Yeah.
Like Cody's been convincing me to make him a little Shoto, and it's like I just keep pushing it off because I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. It's just they're just a pain, and they're a pain. They're not fun. That's just what it comes down to, you know. But I'd say for like personal use, I usually do a 7/8 KR blade, and then if it's a 1-inch, I add an adapter. Just because I prefer 7/8, I just like the look of 7/8. So
I'm going to be the one that swims against the current. I actually like making blades and like making my own blades because I'm a tinkerer, right? So like one of the reasons, as far as blade making goes, right? Space Window is one of my role models that I look to for like blade making because I love how he pushes the envelope and experiments because that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
So every blade I make, I'm always looking like, okay, how can I make it brighter? How can I make it more even? How can I make it just that much cooler? And so I actually enjoy doing them. I mean, I make my own blades. I don't use KR strips. I just, I go and source pixel strips myself.
Okay.
And make them by hand. I've done 2-strip. I've done 3-strip. Photonic, non-photonic, all of those things. But like I just love tinkering and making blades. So I prefer and like to make my own. So I don't actually own anybody else's blades except the ones I've made.
Okay. That's actually really cool. That's the first I've heard that. That's really cool. As far as I guess my experience with blades, like my favorite that I've purchased is definitely, as far as me, like just the KR, how I had it so far, I think it's so bright, dude. Like I'm so pumped to have that, as far as going from just your typical NeoPixels from the LGT or even like POC Store, and the Bendu ones are cool too. Like I like how the rigidity, they can really take a hit, but as far as brightness, dude, I was blown away. Like Matt, I remember when he sent me a video right before the Bane sent out, he was like, this thing hurts. And I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty crazy in video, fully charged. I threw that thing on and I was like, dude, this is my girlfriend's a minute in. She's like, you got to shut it off. I'm getting
it wasn't just that too. That Bane is loud too.
Yeah, it's really loud.
SF hilts, for some reason, the resonance is crazy. And that thing is really, so it was loud and bright. And I turned it on and it gave me a headache. That hilt is loud.
What Canaan hilt are you looking for? Honestly, as far as the Canaan hilts, what was the one that we were looking at, Matt? The one that was the unpainted one?
It was the Solos Hold.
Solos Hold one.
That's all that exists. I don't think anybody else has done it yet.
No, I don't. I think there's one other. There's one other.
Saber Mock.
Yeah, that's it. Saber Mock is.
But it's installed already, so that's what, because we were looking for.
Oh, that's when you showed me them though. I really, for that company though, I was surprised I'd never heard of them until Matt showed me, and I was actually really surprised for even their pre-install. I was like, it doesn't look terrible.
No,
there are a couple of dark horse makers out there that I've come across. Like they're like, where did you guys come from? Because this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like that's another thing too. Like once again, like even though this is a small community, like you learn. I mean, at least for me, like only being in it almost a year now, like it's every week I'm learning something at least, like either a new company or just something in the community. Something's new, always new. It's always moving forward. I mean, everywhere has their little bit of issues, but as far as a whole, like it definitely just seems like it's just growing, and it seems really crazy. And I guess like I don't know if this would be a good question, but what is your take on like how it's growing? Do you guys think it's like a social media thing, or do you think it's like people like actually enjoying, Star Wars more because of all the new series they have going on, like Mandalorian, like the newer movies? I'm not gonna really go on like Bad Batch is decent, but that's not really lightsabers and stuff, but more so like that. Like, do you think that's what it is, or do you think it's like social media? And the only reason I say social media is because like for me, like TikTok, really wasn't around a while ago. And I mean, if it was, it wasn't as big. And now with it being so popular, like it's crazy, like how many Star Wars and lightsaber videos you'll see. So I've always wondered if maybe that's why like there's been also such just a giant influence.
I mean, I'm happy to take that one since I do a lot of TikTok. There definitely is like, I think there's a couple things happening, right? So the sequel trilogy came out, and I know there are mixed opinions on how good or bad the sequels are. Like, I'm not going to get into that. But one thing it did do, right, is it brought in an entire another generation into the Star Wars universe, right? Because now you've got a bunch of people that maybe knew of Star Wars and maybe seen in a movie or two, but like the sequels came out, and now all of a sudden there's a whole new generation of people involved in loving Star Wars. Yeah. Regardless of, the, arguments going back and forth about, the topics or quality of them. Then you get the fact that Disney's like been doing the series like Mandalorian. I mean, I definitely think that brought a lot more appeal to, the dark saber and, Luke's saber and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. With the dark saber.
Absolutely. Like we saw that in our numbers the day after the season 2 Mandalorian. So like we literally sold like 200 hilts that night of ours. And so like there definitely is some of that element happening. And then I think TikTok and other social media and how widespread, and then you throw on the influencers that are doing it and showcasing it and things like that, and then everybody's like, oh my gosh, that looks good, I want one. So I think it's a factor of all of those playing in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought it would have like a mix of at least both of them or something, just because for me, like, I mean, that's a big reason why I started getting into lightsabers, because like I picked up watching Star Wars again by watching Mandalorian. Like I watched it every episode as they came out because I was already a big Star Wars fan. But like, what's weird is how social media works. Is like I'd be on my phone scrolling, and instead of it showing me what tire company I need to go through, it's like, ooh, this Force FX lightsaber, and I was like, what the heck? And like for a week, I was like, this is kind of whack. But then it got me because I was like, seeing a video of these guys dueling, and I was like, all right. So then, boom, YouTube 2 months into that, and then finally, I was like, all right, I'm biting the bullet. I'm buying one. And for me, that's what, because like it literally hit me with social media. I'm not gonna lie to you. So like that's why I've just been wondering if that's just like a lot of the case, because I know people like, for instance, really everybody here has been, besides me, has been in at least a year or two, maybe a little longer. So like, has it been like a huge influx like in these past 2 years, like since like the Mandalorian series hit? Or
I certainly think so. I think the sequels themselves breathed life back into the Star Wars fandom. Okay. Both good and bad, right? Like it breathed life into it because it sparked a whole new era of arguments, and it brought in a whole new generation. So I think that's part one. And that Force Awakens came out a while ago now, so that ramp has already started. And then The Mandalorian came out, and then even this past year with all the announcements of the Ahsoka and Kenobi shows and everything else, like the fervor is just getting, the fever is just going full tilt at this point.
Yeah.
And so then when you get on top of that, the social media of like content creators like myself and Darth Rage, who's on here, I can see him in the chat. He's also on TikTok and as a cosplayer too. You get us on TikTok doing all this stuff, and people see these lightsabers and what we're doing with them, and they're like, oh, I got to have one, right? Next thing you know, they're at Pack Store buying one, or Crimson Dawn, or one of these, or Amazon, and then they get them and they're like, these are great, and then the door's opened, right? The next thing you know, they're buying a KR or Phoenix Props or Solo's Hold, right? Everybody comes in through the Pack Store, Amazon Saber, or AliExpress, and then before you know it, within a year, they're in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened to me. Started with Dark Wolf, and the thing is too is I guess I feel like most would agree. As far as the Facebook Saber communities, I feel like even though yes, don't ask the same repetitive question that does get you flagged or just roasted to the end of time, but if getting into this, for me, starting off with the Dark Wolf, an LGT, I found it pretty much primarily through YouTube, and that's what made me get into it. So then after that, I joined the groups, and then learning, and then I thought the king, and I swear, I thought the best lightsaber that anybody could own was a Saber Trio. Because of to me, that was the most liked videos on YouTube. And once again, I was basing this off of just what I'm visually seeing. So I'm seeing these videos this is what it's like to wield a Saber Trio. And it's oh my God, this thing is insane. Well, then finding out 2 months later, oh, it's just the board that's in this thing that's making it do that. But it's for most people, once again, they're not going to know that. So it's I feel it's got to be kind of dicey, just jumping into it and not going into the communities at all, because I feel if you don't go into the communities, you're gonna stick with just buying the LGTs over and over, because they're not gonna know installs exist, or and this is nothing against them at all, or they're gonna think the only way for a top tier Saber you can go is going Vader's Vault, because that's what comes up on Google or something when you type in custom built lightsaber. Installers like yourselves, how would you guys, I guess, to lead into a question, besides the Saber groups, what is the best way you guys are trying to get yourself out there, get your companies out there? Are you guys trying to make Google promotions, or not that, I'm not trying to get personally, but how hard is it to try to fight to get out there? Or do you just try to stay within the community so you can kind of deal with people that somewhat know what they're getting into?
I think that as an installer, you guys can correct me on this, that it's almost imperative to be part of that community. That's where most of the business is. Paying for Google ads and Facebook ads, you'll never be able to compete with the bigger companies that already pay for that stuff. So why bother? I would say the way to getting out there would be my wife doing all the social media and doing stuff like this and answering questions and showing that you're a real person. I think that's kind of how you're going to reach out and get a little bit further, is to show that you're a person, that it's me doing the quality work. It's not some no face, you don't know what you're getting. It's mass produced in some factory. Instead, it's no, if something's wrong, you can still come back to me afterwards and I'll help you out as best I can. And I think that's how you reach out. The Google ads and the Facebook ads, I'll never take part in that because I'll never be that big. So it'll just end up being a waste of money.
Do you feel like that's how, in a sense, I've heard previous stories about installers, the whole burned out, do you think maybe that's kind of what gets it too, is maybe something that's they can't really handle being mass produced, unlike LGT or something, is that kind of what hurts as well? Is
are you trying to say they grow too fast?
Yes, biting off more than you can chew.
So that's got to be part of your own control, right? You have to know what your limit is. You have to know how much you can take on. I know how much I can take on my commission list and how long I'm going to let that lead time get. There's only a certain point that I'm going to say, you know what, I love the money, but I got to stop. Because if you don't, you'll grow too fast. There's been a few that blew up on YouTube and then they quit. Because they got too big.
Yeah.
Well, and even recently, what Adam Savage did at a Saber Trio thing on Tested or something, and then all of a sudden Saber Trio got 800 orders in 2 minutes or something like that. And so
I didn't even know that. That's wild.
So something, I don't remember if it was Adam Savage or something, but Saber Trio literally had some event that occurred, and they literally in the span of 60 seconds or 2 minutes sold 800 orders, and they were oh God. And they had to do a follow-up PR where they're we're going to accept all the orders, we're going to process them, but
it's going to take a bit.
It's going to take a bit, right? They were you guys just made us drink from the fire hose. We got to chill out for a minute.
Yeah.
And so for my part, like I do installs, but I do those mostly like, it's not my primary business, right? Like my primary role in the Saber world is, part of Veracity Labs and doing the design for major production runs.
Yeah.
And so like, while I do installs, I kind of pick and choose, and I'm just super choosy about what commissions I take on and for whom I take them on from. I do a lot of commissions for people like after I already know them. So I know that they're not going to be like those customers that make you want to bang your head off the desk. So I do that kind of stuff. But I mean, even from the design perspective, speaking for Veracity, like we know our hilts are popular because we've done one hilt already, and its success was far more than we could have anticipated. And we know the next ones we're putting out are even more anticipated. And so we've been doing a lot of investing in infrastructure to be able to handle that, right? Packing facilities, additional employees to be able to help pack.
Yeah.
Additional machinists to help accelerate runs. We've been looking into a lot of that stuff because we anticipate we're going to grow. And so much like Matt said, right? Your limit. We're very conscious of what our limit is and are working to improve that limit.
It's your growth and what you need to do to get there.
Right.
So it's kind of like you have to know that, right? Like that's like taking on a fully custom hilt where whether they want it heat blued. Like you don't take that on before you're ready for it. Like if you've not heat blued your own hilts, you've not weathered your own hilts, you're obviously not going to take that on. Right. And that's like someone said, like that comment just said, we can't be like Jeremy and pump out, 800 installs a day. But Jeremy knows his limit though.
Right.
And that's just a difference of
day, apparently.
Right. But that's the thing though. Like that comes with experience, and he knows what he can do, and he sets his goal and he goes, I can hit this, so I'm going to do it. It's just a difference of each person. Right.
And the advertising isn't going to pay for us because people like Matt and I mean, it's the reputation and the work.
Okay.
So being part of the community is absolutely vital. And then I actually prefer to work with people in the community because it's a way to vet them too. You can see their activity, you know who they are, and and they just have a history.
That's awesome. And that's how to kind of stay away from certain installs, because it's not only like the backlash, but it's your business too at the same time. Right. So you have to, watch your own ass.
And I have a question for that too. Like, how do you guys approach newer customers? Because I found that I've had a hard time with that. Is being a newer installer myself, is most of my business are people that are newer to lightsabers, and they'll reach out.
Yeah.
And see, I've considered that, but I'm like, how time consuming is that? Is it worth it at that point?
It's a little time consuming, but if everything works out and he becomes a customer, then it's worth it to me, to take the time. Because
me and Cody, we've talked a little bit. I had one that kind of just followed, like kind of got stalkerish over this past week. No, legitimately, like, dude, it was 11 messages unread. 11 messages unread, left unread. Didn't even read them.
Matt's got a Saber stalker.
And then emailed, and then followed me to a stream, and then emailed again, even after they've been blocked on the business page. Like, what is going on here? And so
they're wanting a Saber?
Just I'm like, dude, my work's not that good. Like, I pride myself on my work, but it's not that good. Why are you chasing me down, man? Like, it's just wild, And so I've had a hard time with how do you know who's legitimate and who's not, and how to navigate where to put them to what board and that kind of stuff. And so I was just curious what you guys do to kind of navigate that.
I mean, Nerfherder's got the perfect comment in the chat. He's like, watch out for those anime profile picture dudes. Like, do they actually have like an actual Facebook profile more than just a cover photo and a profile photo that was created, a month ago?
Yeah.
Like, that's one way to do it. I mean, like, you could always look, like, are they active in groups? Like, to the point of like someone getting first into Sabers, right? Are they doing the research? Like, are they members of Saber groups? Just, if nothing else, to look and to learn. Are they actively participating and asking questions? Like, or is it just some person that showed up that is literally not on the internet anywhere before that, right? That's pretty sus if someone like that shows up.
Speaking of sus, though, real quick, I have a very sus guest for us. I had to have another learner in here, someone else that's not as smart as you guys. So me and him together, we're like a quarter of one of you. So Watch out. No, I'm just kidding.
That's speaking highly of us, bro.
I'm just kidding. But anyways, I wanted to get Zach on here. He wanted to say what's up. He wanted to learn some things. So,
Yo.
What up, Zach?
Okay.
What is up, my dudes? What is up? What is up? So, Matt, that is a terrible shirt you have on. You should probably throw that away. Jeremy, it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend. And
this
yo,
is Adam.
What a legend.
Adam
I know,
Zach,
what a
Zach,
legend.
Adam. Yep.
I don't know that I would call myself a legend, but I'll take it.
Dude,
Close.
that's what's up, though, man. Nice to meet you.
But no, getting back into sus people and how to approach, I guess, newer customers.
It's very
I know
rare
a few
that
of
somebody's
those.
going to spend this kind of money and they're not in the Saber groups, first of all.
Right.
Really.
And
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
that's my point, right? Like,
That's true.
Getting to the advertising side of things, right? Like buying Facebook ads, buying Google ads, that's going to get you the general masses that are not like true Saber nerds, right? Like they're the casual Saber buyer. And the first time you drop a quote on one of your custom installs, they're going to be like, well, that's way too much. So you're not going to get that customer anyway, because they're going to be the ones that are going to buy the Crimson Dawn or the AliExpress or the Amazon Sabers, right? They're going to be the ones that are buying like the $100 NeoPixel Sabers with 30 gauge wire. And like, well, they are, and so like, I wholeheartedly agree with what everybody's saying, right? Like, selling, like, my niche is in the community. I mean, especially for what Veracity is doing. Like, we're doing trying to go for unyielding perfection, right? That's something most Saber collectors don't care about, right? Like, this is why there's a million Luke heroes out there, but ours is the one that's accurate to the level that has created the popularity it's created, because we've put all the research and all the things behind it. And so, like, there's a market difference there. I think everybody in this live, like, we're marketing to different people, and it's not the kind of market that the Facebook ads and the Google ads are the kind of people that we're going to hit anyway.
Yeah.
And as far as like with you, Jeremy, just going to go back on, because you said you do your research type of thing. Like, you kind of hope that it's through the community. Like, does that?
Well, I used to have a strict rule after one guy I had to deal with, that if they didn't have a Facebook profile, I wouldn't deal with them at all. But I've kind of backed off from that a little bit, and I will FaceTime with them. So I can get an idea. I can just like look them in the eye and get an idea of the type of person they are, and just chat them up a little bit.
That's got to be, honestly though, that's like really cool.
I might have to steal that.
Though. Like, that's just like, because like not a lot of, I mean, personally, I've never bought anything in my life where it's like that, unless you're like going to a store, which is obvious. But it's like, that's really cool, honestly. Like, were you like kind of, if you don't mind me asking, was it almost like an uncomfortable feeling at first, or you're just right to it? Like, I know what you wanted out of it. Because I just feel like for me, like, for instance, like, I wasn't really good at like the streaming or like even like the talking like to people on voice, like not voice chat, but like FaceTime and stuff like that, until like Zach and I started hanging out for like hours playing video games with our phones up, and that's what got me used to it. But I feel like going to a new customer, like that's got to show a lot of dedication, just being like at least giving them that much time of yourself to just make sure that it's worth it.
Usually takes about 5 or 10 minutes to get out of somebody what they want, and then talk to them about what they've got. It's not very much time. I'd say, the first few phone calls were a little awkward because I didn't know how to approach it, but it's good. It's all good now.
Well, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Seems to work out. Everybody likes it.
I think I'm going to steal it. I think that's,
I'm serious.
That. Straight up.
I'm going to do that. Yeah. I mean, I might do that for installs. I don't think I could do that for our
every mom hilts.
I think that'd be way too much time on FaceTime.
I think it just makes it easier, like, because you kind of get that feeling, and like it's hard to understand who they are and if they're legitimate just through messages. Because again, you can
take a message all kinds of different ways, right? But if you hear them say it, you know exactly how they mean it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, there's been a few where I think they've taken me the wrong way, and I've taken them the wrong way. And it's like, hold up, let's back up. let's start over. That's not how I meant that. I don't think that's how you meant that. And then have to start over. So that would kind of eliminate that right off the get, you know? So I like that.
Yeah, a lot can be lost in text versus like actual voice. Because, dude, I swear, at first I thought I was gonna bug Jeremy. I was like, I have so many questions. I'm like your biggest fan, and then I'm like, I just want to know stuff. And then now he's my buddy. So, but yeah, for sure.
I feel like it definitely goes with a lot of like, I guess like this community too, because like I've noticed like as far as other hobbies I'm into in groups, like for instance, like a lot of the groups, like they don't have like a video of like a guy going in the beginning of the month and like talking about like Saber related things. Like for instance, there was, I'm definitely not going to get into drama, but like there was an issue a little bit ago in a Saber community, but like I can't remember his name. I know he's like huge and I feel terrible.
Issue in the Saber community?
Oh, no way. I know. But there's always like a PSA video or something like that follows up. And it's like, to me, it's like, that's super professional. Cause like I've been in like, you guys probably like it's professional, but like, dude, let me tell you, and other hobbies and other groups, they'll just let it ride forever. And like, they don't care how toxic it gets. And it's kind of cool to see at least like there's some sort of barrier of like control of like, all right, this needs to be not here, like this needs to go. And I feel like for the not majority, not all groups, but for a lot of the groups I have noticed like it's been kind of like rewarding. Like you don't really have to deal with too much of that stuff, but maybe I could be wrong. Do you guys think like the Facebook groups are better or like the Reddit? Because like I'm not even on the Reddit. I just started my first Reddit ever, and I've heard that gets pretty wild.
Reddit, there's a lot of misinformation.
I've seen some of the Reddits, like they can get pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think, I definitely think there's undercurrents, right? So there's like what the general public sees on the surface, which is very polite. And then there's a couple layers down where like there's all the back channel stuff that does happen. But that's usually word of mouth and stuff too. That's not usually out there on Facebook groups. That's more like back channel, I got this piece of information, I share it with someone, and then, it's like it winds up becoming hearsay, which is actually a different problem, right? Because then it becomes a game of telephone. And unless you're willing to go to the source and be like, so I heard this, let's hammer this out. Like you can get into these games of like issues that arise that may not even really be issues originally from the, the two parties. It may have actually been like someone else stirring the pot. And like, unless you dispel that, like it can create friction in the community. But I mean, for me, myself, like I try to stay out of all that. Like I try to be as positive with everybody and be friends with everybody. Like I have a bunch of friends in the Saber community that I know do not get along with each other. And that's fine. Like I'm friends with all of them. So it's,
I feel that. And I feel like that goes to show a lot about like certain people's characters too. Like obviously, like if you've had bad experience, trust your gut. Like the thing is, like I feel like nobody should, for instance, like bash on anybody for having for one, in a previous experience they've already had, which will change their view on someone. They don't need to change their view on that person. If they've had that experience, it doesn't matter if things have gotten better through time. If they have that feeling, they're not obligated to have it. And I feel like to a certain extent, I feel like I've seen that as like a positive-ish thing in the community. Like there's not too many, but obviously that's like everywhere else. You're going to have your bad eggs. You're going to have the people that, try to make things a little worse than they should be. But at the same time, if you keep up with the positivity and like, once again, with so many awesome people, not only doing installs, but like not even just installs, but certain companies that are doing like really good runs and stuff like that. Like, that's awesome. Like it's a growing, moving community. And as long as like there is some sort of moderation and like people that are at least going to stick up and say something like, hey, like this isn't cool, or like, hey, these people are being sketchy and like this is what's going on. Because like, dude, there's how many wheel and rim companies like rob people in the drift community? Like plenty of times, like, oh, we're doing this run on this cast wheel, blah, 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 pre-order, blah, blah, blah. You don't get your money back. That happens once in the Saber community. There's like 40 posts of people just like,
look at
that's like the wild part.
That's the wild part. Cool. Like that part is at least good.
Yeah. I mean, look at what happened with DX, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was a bunch of customers that were burned and like, all the real quality, high reputable people in the Saber company, like we
Stepped
all
up.
stood out
Yep.
and stood up and tried to basically tell all the people who aren't in the Saber community as well, and be like, you're going to get fleeced, you know, and that actually grew beyond just the Saber community itself. Like the true tight-knit Saber community, it like grew to the larger public, and I mean, the general wider public became aware of some of the shady business practices there. So
Yeah.
It was telling there too when Kale reached out to him even and like
right.
spent time explaining to him like this is what's going on. This is why it's going on. This is why
Yeah.
the Saber the Saber community is very protective. Like if you screw up, they're gonna let you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty
and
quickly.
I feel like, like that could be definitely a double-edged sword, but at the same time, I guess for like the consumer, it's great because for me, like for instance, like I think I told you guys, like when I was starting off, dude, I was going off YouTube stuff. If I would have seen, not to mean to shoot him out, but like Lando's DX or Ultra Saber, all this stuff. If I would have never seen that type of stuff, dude, I probably would have bought it. Like I probably would have bought something that I did not want. So it's like, for me, it's like as a consumer, as someone that's not an installer, as someone that's just a fan, like I guess probably Zach agrees with this too. Like we need those type of things. Like, cause if not, sometimes, going in blind, like it's great, but sometimes you don't come out very well. And if you don't have like a community to rely on, like I've seen plenty of times, like it's so sad because like not to refer to like LGT like this, I know this is just like installer stuff, but like so many people, it's like in the LGT community, like a big issue they have, like the not charging their battery for 4 hours, like the simplest things. They'll go on like someone's YouTube video or TikTok or however they found this lightsaber out and they post it. Hey, I just got this and it's not working. And like they expect it's like as like even content creators, like we're just trying to do like what we can. But they don't think how simple it is. Why don't you just email who you bought it from? Whether it be Crimson Dawn, Dark Wolf, Alex. They'll have 99% of the time I've seen in the groups, they do get back to you. And like they will help you fix it. Right. But the problem is they will just complain about it before even going to any kind of source. And to me, like, I guess like as an installer, you guys probably don't have to really deal with that, do you? Or do you have to deal with that? Like, do people at least go to you first if there's ever an issue, or like
it's so it depends on
like a hit or miss?
I think it depends on the interaction you have with them. Like, if they're reading that they don't like you, I think they'll skip over you and just go right to a call out or whatever, which obviously is not the right reaction. Obviously, you want to hash it out between you two first, no matter what. Like that's what you want, but it's tough as an installer because your reputation is entirely on the line, and it can be one person, especially being newer, can take you down, can totally take you down. And that's where it can get frustrating. It's like, if you just come to me, we could have worked it out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I've had that yet, because so far I've been lucky. If there's been an issue, they do come to me and say, hey, like, this is an issue, let's fix it. Okay, no problem, let's fix it. Or let's sort this out.
I think it's also different when you're doing like custom installs, right? Because your simple customer base and your volume is just so much lower, right? Unless you're Jeremy doing as many, 1,000 hilts a day. Like for the most part, an installer is like,
I went from 800 to 1,000.
You've got a small queue. You've got a small queue, and you're usually very high touch with the client, right? Because it's a custom install. I think, I've definitely seen that even with Veracity, we've seen some of that, not a lot, because for the most part, the reaction to what we've put out has been extremely positive. But there are definitely a couple of those where it's like, someone will put a post out there and be like, the clamp card doesn't fit, or, there's corrosion on this. And it's like, well, okay, you could have come to us and we would have either remedied it, or we could have talked about it and explained it. But you went straight to the, the Facebook groups or whatever to almost like cry wolf. So it doesn't happen a lot, but I mean, it's certainly happened even to us. So
yeah.
I would say this. So I think that if it's all about tact, right? So like, again, I'm a consumer too. And so like, if people are willing to give honest experiences and can have legitimate proof and can be tactful, that's where those avenues are important for Facebook groups. And I'm not talking about just installers. I'm talking about just in general. Because like right now, it's not a secret. I'm going through a freaking nightmare with the pack store. It's a roller coaster every day. It's something new. But I tried to do it as tactfully as I could. Like I did not attack them. I did not say they were horrible. Like I just was honest about the experience I had. I guess I could have done screenshots, things of that, but I did it on my own channel. I tried to, me personally, I'll be very honest with you. I am very intimidated by the Facebook groups. I don't know why. I've been in this community for about a year now. There's something about it's very playful. And like, I know a really good group of people in these groups, but I don't know why. I just get nervous in like group settings like that. Yeah. I don't know, but I think that just to round back to what I'm saying, like, as long as it's tactful and you can say, okay, I had a dispute. I'm just going to use Jeremy because he's the only installer here that I've worked with. Okay, I have a dispute with Jeremy. Jeremy said he was going to do this and he did this instead. Like, just do it tactfully. Just A, B, C. Okay, this was the reason why we had what do they say in divorce? Unreconcilable differences.
Unreconcilable differences.
Yeah, and so I'm not saying this guy's a bad person. I'm just saying this is the issue I had. Know this before you go into buying from this person. And that should be the end of the conversation. And the other side of it is people, you can stand up for your friends, you know what I mean? Because if I hear anybody speaking negatively of any of these people, I'm going to chime in and say, okay, I'm sorry you had that experience, but just understand, like, they are good people. Sometimes deals don't work out, whatever. My experience was when I tried to be honest about what I was going through, like people came for me, like, excuse me, the pack store is the most reputable. And I'm like, again, I'm not trying to sway anybody. I'm just being honest. So I guess I'm more that minority with the Facebook stuff. Like I like to see my buddies clown around and joke and stuff, but I don't know why I've always been so intimidated to put my hat into that ring. And I've been, like I said, I've had a channel for a year now.
What's wild is I feel like it should be opposite. Like, dude, I feel like being a channel would be way harder than because you are just like, you could defend yourself, but it's like you are presenting something of yourself, dude. In a Facebook, you just delete his comment, block that guy. It's like, it's like you could have a troll make 14 other accounts in 5 seconds. You're like, what is going on? Like, that's what scares me. But all I can say is, like, I'm sure anybody else will agree. Find the right group, and like I really explained way earlier on. Yeah, ULC is pretty. I love ULC. That's probably my favorite bigger group, just because it's chill. Like, and anything that has been disputed, like, dude. Moderators on there. Is it Robert? Is that who it is? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that guy's a savage. I love that guy, dude. Like, he just just comes in, just whatever, posts a flex video in the cave, and it's like all good again. It's like, dude, I love this group. Like,
yeah. And even him, he's tactful about approaching people, about certain situations. I'll see it, and I'm like, man, I wish I could be that well-spoken while
dude, for sure.
Because me, I fall apart when I attack somebody. I'm like, listen here, you mother, But like he can be just like, yo, tone it down. You're like, yo, I'm gonna tone it down.
Like, I'm gonna tone it down, dude, for sure.
Down, dude. Like,
see that dude in a cave, you're not gonna want to mess with him. You're like, all right, I'm out, dude.
Yeah,
the dude's a G. I that's what I was trying to say earlier. Like his live videos, dude. Like every time, like I just love like. He has a little bit of humor in there, but he's just like straight to the point. Like, this is the problem.
Yeah.
This is what's going on, and this is what's going to fix it. And I'm just like, yes. Thank you, dude.
I also find some of the very, very, very specialized Saber groups are also like sometimes not as subject to like some of the drama. I mean,
like specifically.
Right? So like you look at something like MPP addicts or crossguard addicts. Very, very, very small groups, very, very, very narrow focus. Like the MPP group is all about the MPP hilt for Vader.
Yeah.
Crossguard is all about crossguards. And so while there's still some back and forth, it doesn't become a free for all because usually it's hilt for hilt, not maker for maker. Right. So it doesn't turn into quite as much drama. I mean, it does still happen, but it's not as often.
I think it's inevitable with those groups too, just because they're so huge. Like you have to think about like there's people worldwide. It's not even just the US, like it's worldwide. So you have all these conflicting personalities. And again, we talked about it. Things can be read a different way than how they're meant. So I think that's how it can take off sometimes a lot further than how it was meant, and some people jump in when they shouldn't be jumping in, and like it happens. It's going to happen. It's kind of just part of it. But for all the positivity that you get out of those groups, though, I think it's worth it to deal with that stuff. And that's why you have the moderators and everything like that, is let them deal with it. It's their group and they've got an eye on it,
Yeah.
So Matthew, I wanted to address your question. So you asked, why does it sound like I don't care for Crimson Dawn sabers? I actually do. I actually like Crimson Dawn a lot. I like Dark Wolf. I like all those. Apologies if I came off like I don't like them. I'm just trying to like use examples of more affordable pixel sabers, and like those fall more in the like budget class. Pack Store, Crimson Dawn, Dark Wolf, like they fall under that more like affordable pixel saber class. That's the only reason I'm naming them, not in any sort of disparaging way whatsoever. Like I know a lot of friends who have Crimson Dawn sabers and love the heck out of them. So nothing against them. So apologies if I came off that way.
No, you're good. You're good.
We've talked about that too. Like me and Cody have talked about that with the LGTs. We've talked about it numerous times. It's a great starter. It's a great starter to get you into the hobby, to see if you want to spend the money on the more expensive stuff. That's all. That's all we're saying. We're not attacking them.
Yeah. And I think that they're even like their replicas are pretty good quality, because I had Sebastian over at Starlight work on my Ben Solo, and he actually did like just this little detail, but I mean the heat blowing around the emitter here, and dude, this thing's amazing. Like this is my Ben Solo, you know what I mean? It's great quality. So again, I think they are great sabers to buy and then have maybe work done to them. You know what I mean? Like kind of they're kind of like blank canvases, like on some of their more budget friendly ones.
Oh yeah,
you can kind of do whatever you want with them. So I agree. They have their niche. You know, that's honestly, what it is.
Like looking at the Kylo, right? Like, is it as accurate as like a KR? No, but it's probably, with the exception of the KR, like it's the only reasonably priced Kylo pixel saber out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is by LGT. And so, I mean, go for it. Like, and if it needs some work, it might need, a competent sabersmith to like go through and, make sure the wiring's like good and sound. But like the hilts are fantastic for what they are. Like they're definitely in the budget class, but I mean, certain hilts, like there is no other offering until you get into like the, ivory tower echelon of cost, right? So there's definitely some really good LGT offerings out there.
I have a question for you guys too. Sorry, is that okay, Cody?
Of course. This is why
I vote no. I vote
no. My son is 3 years old, and every time we do a Skype call, me and Cody, he says, "Call Mr. Cody." So, Mr. Cody, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I have 3 installed lightsabers now from some really amazing installers. So my question to you guys is, why is your work just so much better than like a lot of these bigger companies? Like, what is it that you guys put into, like, what's the sauce? Like, without giving us the recipe.
Yeah, Matt's a good matter.
So
to take that one.
The way I would put it is, it's the time and effort, right? Like me, Jeremy, Cody, and Adam were on the stream before the live stream, right? And we talked about this, where we said, like, I asked Jeremy, how long do you work? And he goes, a lot of hours. And I go, I don't work that many hours, but it's the same amount of effort and time that's put into those hilts, right? So that's the difference. It's that personal touch. You're taking your time and testing the components and making sure the wiring's sound, using PTFE wire. With Jeremy and Adam, they design their own chassis, so they're making sure that the chassis quality, that it works. They print it themselves. I'm sure they have prototypes. They test the prototype. All right, that prototype didn't work. Go back. That's what you're paying for. That's why a custom build is so much better, because it is custom. Like it's that person taking that time out to really make sure everything is sound, and that when you get it, it will last you for a lifetime. That's why, right? Now these other ones, I'm not saying that LGT is bad, but they are in it for profit. That's just the truth. And I'm not saying I'm not in it to make money either. I am, but the main part that got me into it is because I enjoy it. So I think that's what you buy when you buy an installer. You're buying the person. You're not just buying the install. You're buying that person. So when you pay them, you're buying the person that's doing it. And it's their personal touch and the amount of care that they put into it. That's what you're paying for.
And that's going to go with anything, not just lightsabers. If it's handmade, and then if you put it up against something that's mass produced.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I was going to answer the same way. It's like it's the difference between it's the difference between a custom hand built, custom shop Harley Davidson versus a Hyundai. It's the difference in the craftsmanship when you get into anything that is bespoke and hand done.
Awesome. That's good. And I'm just saying, because now, like, I have these amazing installed sabers. I'm like, I have sabers coming directly from like certain companies, and I'm just like, they're cool, but like, I don't know, like, but okay.
And I think
appreciate that.
We can attest to that. Like, Cody, you can speak to that, right? You sent me your LGT. It came here. I changed the config for you because you weren't sure how to work a Profi board quite yet. We put on some cool fonts. I did some cool blade styles for you, sent it back to you. I said, that'll hold you over until you get your Bane. And he gets it back. He goes, dude, this is sick. I'm like, okay, wait until you get your custom build, though. Then you're going to really be saying that. Right? Mm-hmm. Then he got it. And then he saw something of like where there's a personal touch to it. And it's just that's the difference is you'll hold it and you go, this was specifically, they made it for me and they put their name on it. Yeah. And it's literally a person that did this. It's not, I don't know who made this, And I think when you got it too, Cody was blown away. It was like, it's so cool. Like all these sound fonts, all these blade styles, how the crystal flickers, like it's all custom to me.
Well, because that's how I wanted it. You can watch the video. I mean, it's like I was super hyped. And the biggest thing for me is like, I'm a big guy on sounds. Like I love light and sounds. Like it goes to do with anything with cars. Like I love how the way certain engines sound compared to others. So for me, like I had the same font on, my LGT that Matt reconfigured for me, and then the Bane, and it's one of Blue Force Company's fonts, very deep and bassy, like real, just insane, like just real dark. Well, I literally on like probably like half volume on the Bane, I ignited it while I ignited the LGT, and just from the resonance, like the speaker that's in it, just like every little thing, like you really see your money's worth. You really see like. Okay, because like at first for a while, like I really had to convince myself, am I spending this much money? I even said it before we hopped on here, it's like it just chills on my desk for this much money. But at the same time, like anytime I do fire it up or like I really look at it or anything, it's just like nothing beats it. Like it's such a good feeling, especially from someone that's like a collector. Like it's nothing feels better, especially when it's like everything to the T that you've asked and you're able to have it like sitting right there in front of you physically. Like, no, I'm not in the Star Wars universe, but I have an MF lightsaber. I'm just going to say that. Like, bro, like it feels sick. Like not a lot of people can say that. Like all my friends that are into lightsaber, or not even lightsaber, like Star Wars or anything, like anytime they come over, dude, they're tranced, dude. They're like, they're not going to spend their money, but they're sure as hell happy I spent my money on it. I'll say that. Like, and for me, like going from something like LGT to like a custom built, like just nothing feels better. Like, yes, like the LGT, it was an amazing first time I ignited a NeoPixel Saber. I was pumped. Like I was super stoked. As soon as I couldn't wait for it to get nighttime so I could go outside and just like really see how crazy it is. And like, I was just so stoked. But then it's like, when you start getting into the things where it's like, oh, it gets brighter, it gets louder. You can feel the bassy fawns in your hand. Okay. Oh, you can get crystal chambers. You can just do all these things. And then it's like, then you fire that one up. And then it's all, and not to take away from the experience you had of that first time you fired up your first cut, like, whatever, NeoPixel lightsaber, whatever it is. But you almost are like, oh, this is for sale. I don't need this anymore. Like, and I don't mean to say it, but I feel like that's where the curve of going from, is this something I want to spend my money, or this is what I want to spend my money on? Like, it's that fast. It's not just like do I kind of want it? It's like a snap of the finger. You're like, my cart is full, or you've talked to a custom installer, or maybe you've gone down the route of Vader's Vault, or like whatever it may be, but you have moved from your Ultra Sabers or your LGT or your cheaper to who knows what. I mean, the fact that on some of these groups you see sabers for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and the fact that they sell, it's like, okay, I'm a peasant, like I can't do that, but then I end up saving money and buying something like, obviously not that extravagant, but like, you know, where it's 1,000 or closer to, it's like the pride and all the joy you get into it. Like, I don't know, like I know I'm rambling, but like if you literally watch my video, like, dude, I lost it. Like I was stoked because like I like to do natural videos. Like Zach and Matt knows this. I will literally have a Saber sit in a box for like 2 weeks if I'm not sure I'm gonna open it for the video, because like I literally just want people to get that, oh man, like he's stoked. And like, dude, first time I literally fired it up, like it was nuts. So like, and I'm sure Zach will attest to it 100% with the Star Killer. Like, dude, that thing is, and I know he's had previous installs, but like even when he sent me that, I was like, that is insane. Like that.
I don't put this thing down. Jeremy doesn't believe me, bro. Like I don't even have the battery in it, and I just sit here like for hours.
I am literally doing a commission for one of those. Like I have a commission for one of those right now. Actually, it's the previous version. It's the Phoenix Props 7C.
Oh, okay.
Hopper.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm doing an install commission on one of those right now. Actually,
they are so good, dude.
And Cody, just to add to what you were saying, like about even the sound differences, right? Like I've had a lot of lightsabers. I'd say in a year, I'd probably have gone through about 45-ish lightsabers, I'd say. And dude, I never knew lightsabers could sound like this. Like, and I'm not just gassing Jeremy up. Whatever he used in this thing, like, I can't use it at a certain point of the night, bro, because I live in an apartment. Like, my neighbors will probably be calling the cops saying that it's insane.
You used one of those Smuggler Outpost dark speakers, didn't you?
No, it's a full-range Smuggler's Outpost.
Just the way you're describing it, I'm like, that's a dark speaker, isn't it?
Dude,
oh no, that was the Elite version.
Oh, it was the Elite? Okay.
Yep.
Speaking of
this is the
speakers and stuff, oof, God, I do love that thing so much. It's so good. That dark ray you're working on, Jeremy, that looks good, man. That's crazy how the speakers come out. I did not realize that's how they were. Like they're
in sideways.
Yeah, dude. I was like, what? Like that was. Does it feel wild when it's on? Like it's gotta feel bassy, dude.
So
I can only imagine.
It goes in like a dark saber, I'm assuming, right? Sideways.
Is that how the dark saber ones are too?
Yeah.
Saber
is gonna be.
Oh, such a beautiful hilt, dude. I really do like this hilt a lot.
Is that one of the SP ones?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got mine coming. It's not here yet. I'm so jealous. You're holding one in your hand right now, Jared.
I just keep telling him stop sending those and send my spin flex.
Shipped mine yet?
Just send my spin flex.
Where's mine?
So yeah, it comes off like this. They're basically two separate sabers.
Okay.
And then screws right here, but this is the sound venting. Right.
Oh,
so
really?
the speaker's got to go there.
What?
Yeah.
Inside the pill capsules, the red pill capsules. There's tiny vent holes inside the grooves between the pill capsules.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's how my Ultimate Works Sauvage is. It's just like that. It's the vents for the sounds are in the
I love that, dude.
That speaker will sit right there. It's a 24 millimeter.
So for the resonance and something like that, with it being, I guess, like facing the way it is, would you feel it more like with like baser fonts? Like I feel like the hilt itself would almost like.
Well, it's a 24 millimeter speaker, so it's not going to like blow your mind or anything. It's going to sound good.
Yeah,
right,
but I mean, with two of them, because it'll have two, right? Obviously.
Yeah, it'll have two, but they're separated by this coupler right here, and then like the coupler still. The coupler goes into the handle.
Okay.
About this far or so. Man. So.
I love the heat staining on the emitters, dude. That looks sick.
I'll probably weather this tomorrow because I do want to install them.
Dude, props to Sean for doing the heat bluing. Like I've been struggling with that hard lately. Like airbrushes are no joke. Like they're tough, dude. They're so finicky. It's crazy.
Yeah. No,
he had to walk me through.
Work just in general is amazing.
But dude, those things are no joke. Like I had to break it down, and like I can show you right here. I have all the parts sitting in acetone because it got so clogged up with the paint. Like it's like in a matter of seconds it was clogged up. Like I got one test piece done and that was it, and it was clogged up. It was wild. And I texted him and he goes, "Yeah, just a couple drops of water." And so we do a couple drops of water and that worked. It's like, are you kidding me? Like something that simple, but that's how finicky those things are. So anybody that can do that heat bluing, like That's crazy, man. Like props to them because it's tough.
I'm gonna do mine with fire.
Are you?
Real
Are
fire.
they steel? They're steel again?
Yeah, they're steel emitters.
Okay, sweet.
Yep.
Oof, that's gonna be.
That's
sick.
how I did my Star Killer heat vent. As I literally put it on my back patio. I took the sleeve off, the steel sleeve off the Star Killer, put it on my back patio, and then took a map gas torch and just like put the barrel right down inside the pipe. Blasted the torch for a couple seconds. Boom! All of a sudden, heat colored. Like that's how I did it.
Yeah.
That's sick.
See,
And it's natural.
Me and Jeremy were talking about that. I'm
Literally
going
naturally heat dispersion from taking a map gas torch and like blasting it into the inside of the sleeve.
Well, that's me and
That's
Jeremy
what-
were talking about that. I'm undecided.
Exactly
I don't
like
know.
that, Jeremy.
That's real heat. Yep.
Yep.
Oof,
Same thing.
that looks good. Somebody had a question. As someone who's interested in getting started on a first-time build for dueling, what is your recommendations for where to begin and how to find a community of duelers? I'm going to go for community Facebook groups, obviously. Saber Legion of your area. That'd be like the best thing I could think of.
For a hilt,
I definitely think
stunt
for
saber.
hilts, yeah, do a
For
stunt.
stunt and duels. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah. So if you're doing like actual saber combat, generally a stunt probably like you don't want pixel for that. Like you want a stunt saber with a in hilt LED.
Oh no, Cole. He got one, but they sent him the unweathered one. I love Cole. He's so cool. Mamba.
Dude,
gosh.
Cole is the first buyer of one of our Ravens chests.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so
Dude's
excited to ship
Nice.
that out, dude.
That's awesome.
That's so cool, dude. Friggin' Cole's a G. I really appreciate. I'm so happy we were able to get him on, or he got on last Friday. That was sick.
Oh yeah, dude, for sure.
Hours. What is the longest build time you guys have ever had?
Oh God. Mine.
Jeremy just laughs. He's like, I don't want to say this.
He's all 17 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Jeremy's like 12 minutes. No, I mean that's a really subjective question, right? Like, because I mean,
Yeah.
it took us 14 months to design the hero, and then manufacturing was 5 weeks. So I mean, I guess technically speaking, like 2 years. But I mean, for an install itself, like I've done some custom full core, and those have taken 100 hours. So I mean, probably 100 hours on an install, but that was like an all handmade harp-like full core saber. So
What about you, Jeremy?
10 hours I spent on one saber.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 hours for an MK2 with a Rudy Pando chamber.
And what
My
made
first
that one, by any chance, like a little longer than the others? Is it just because of fitting things, or was it just?
It was my first one. I mean, it's a pretty cramped food job, and yeah, taking it slow, trying to figure out how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say that's where I'm at with the one that I got right now, the Luke V2. Just it's my first one. I'm taking my time, trying to figure out how it all goes together. Because it's that first one it's always like it's a little nerve wracking, You just want to make sure you do it right. That's all.
Yep. Exactly.
I like this question. We kind of went over it, but not really. We went over like what got you into Star Wars, but what made you guys go from just wanting? Did you guys ever just install for yourself, or did you primarily know you wanted to get into it to like create a business?
Oh no, I totally started out just doing it for myself. Like I'm the perfect example of that, which is why I said like earlier in the stream, I'm like I would have never guessed I'd be sitting here as part of Veracity Labs designing hilts to make for like all of you installers. Like I would have never guessed I would have been here, because when I first started, I got into building sabers because Ultra Sabers and Saber Forge didn't cut it for me. And that's why I did my own. And then once I did my own, then I, someone else saw it and they were like, oh my gosh,
Thanks,
that's
Nate.
so cool. And then here, let's build it together. And then before you know it, I'm installing sabers for people. And then come along, hilt runs come out and it's like, I want a Luke hero, the true Luke hero. And nobody puts one out. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Brian and I teamed up, and then boom, Veracity Labs is formed. Like, that's how that happened. I never set out to do this, as a business, and it's still, even today, isn't my main job. Like, I have a normal day job.
Yeah, that's similar story. Same thing. Just started off just doing it myself, and then had done it for a couple of friends, and then after that, it was like, all right, there's a couple of friends that are in the Saber community that wanted it, and then he convinced me. He's like, dude, you should just start taking on people. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then I started doing it for people privately. He's like, dude, you need to go public. You need to start I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, that's a lot of people to go public in front of. I'm a shy person. I don't know if I want to do that. And then eventually he convinced me. So I said, screw it. I'm like, all right, let's go for it. And then Babu just kind of happened because that's my nickname with my wife. And that was before episode 9 came out. I had screwed up and went to say boobs and babe in the same sentence. And I said booba. And I don't know how that, or boobay, that's what happened. And then I screwed it again and then said Babu. And now she just calls me Babu. And that's kind of how that came about. That was not intentional for episode 9. As soon as when we were sitting during episode 9, we both jumped up and my parents were like, because we went with my parents, like, would you two idiots sit down? But we jumped up because it was like, hey, that's my nickname. And now it's actually in Star Wars. So that was pretty cool. But
bro, and Babu is such a legend too. So, dude, that's probably one of the coolest parts of the Rise of Skywalker.
And I'm 5'7", soaking wet, so like that's perfect, man. Short little tinker.
Oh man, I love it.
I actually started installing for myself too, and then I think I just love I just love installing. Right, because I'd get done with it. It was really fun while I was doing it, and then I'd get bored with it, sell it off just so I could fund my next install, and it just kind of just snowballed from there.
I think that's how like most installers start too, right? Like you sell the pre-installed stuff. You don't really take on commissions. You're like, let me install this, see if people buy it, think that it's a good install or not, and then go from there.
I was selling install Graflexes on Etsy before I even knew there was a Facebook group.
Really?
Yeah, probably on Etsy for 8 months.
I did not know that.
Yep.
We tried the Etsy thing. It just didn't take off. So it was like, and the fees, I've heard they up the fees at this point as well. So I don't know if
it's rough.
Well, that's why I hit you up directly for like 3D stuff. I'm like, I'm just going to talk to Jeremy directly.
Absolutely.
It saves both of us the hassle. You get to keep all the money. It's simpler that way. But
yep.
Oh man, sorry about that.
I remember that.
Buying off Etsy is a weird experience. I was just saying that on my last video. I bought that from that person, and for real, like I couldn't even tell you if it was a human being that built my lightsaber because they did not divulge any information to me, bro. And there's like 2 million fonts on it, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know half of these fonts. I'm like, gotta get all this off of here. But it's a beautiful hilt. I've wanted a Mace Windu forever, but the whole experience on Etsy, I'm like, I don't know. It was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie.
That's weird.
I don't understand how they
like
could build you a saber but not want their name said.
Yeah, I was just
That's
like, yo,
wild
I'd love.
right?
I'm like, my channel's not huge, but like I'd love to shout you out, maybe send you some business. And they were just like, no, thank you. And I was just like,
I'm good.
Weird.
Yeah, that's interesting because, like, I mean, I've never done a saber off of Etsy, but as a cosplayer, I do a lot of cosplay components and things like that of like custom craftsmen. And it's similar, right? They're not making lightsabers, but they're making armor or they're making clothing or something for cosplay. Yeah. I've done tons and tons of custom commission stuff on Etsy through Etsy. And I've never had any weird experiences. Like they've always been super friendly and super proactive and good at communication. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, Etsy for us has been pretty good. What was it? Man, I just had something too. As far as like Etsy for us, though, like it seems to be something that's, I guess, working like for the cosplay community. It seems to be working pretty well. As far as 3D printing, for the two in the room that do 3D printing, Did you only start doing 3D printing because to help like the Saber business, or like do you like to? I know with Adam, I'm sure you do a lot of like your cosplay stuff. But Jeremy, do you primarily only do like chassis, or have you had something fun you've got to print yet? Like anything that you're like really stoked to print, or?
I mean, I've printed a few things, mainly sabers. When I first started, and I had to go searching for chassis for this saber, or I had to see if something else fit, and then I had to sit around and wait. I got very frustrated, very frustrated. So I went and got a printer, and it's just chassis over here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
What about you, Adam? What's like your favorite thing you've ever printed?
The favorite thing I've ever printed was for cosplay. I was doing an Assassin's Creed Ezio costume.
Oh, okay.
And I found, and it's actually on Thingiverse, so it's free to download for anybody who has a 3D printer. This is like the coolest thing ever. I actually found a dual OTF hidden blade kit. So you print out all the pieces, and it goes together with rubber bands, and it attaches to your finger with like a ring and a piece of fishing line or string. And so you like open your hand and it snaps out, and you open your hand again and it snaps back. Like it's both directions, like fully mechanical, and it is sweet. That is probably the funnest thing I've ever printed on my 3D printer. The next thing that will be the funnest thing that I've started printing is a what's called a Griffin, and it's basically a DIY Nerf gun that does like full auto. So I'm gonna use that in like battles with my boys. So I usually use my printer for like super fun stuff.
That's cool. I know as far. Oh wait, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, as far as like the like cosplay stuff, like that's the one thing I feel like I would really want a 3D printer for, just because I've really been getting into like helmets and masks, and it's like, man, I could spend a lot of money in buying these, or I could learn to make these myself.
Yeah.
But the process to it too, like, like I've seen some guys through Instagram, and it's just wild the amount of work that does go involved, because it's not just printing it. Like afterwards,
then you gotta, I mean, like you can also, some people use the print as a mold for a resin cast, especially for like, some masks and stuff. So what you do is you print the mold, you print the print, you sand that, you smooth that, then you build a reverse mold, and then you actually use resin to actually make the final thing. So, then some people also just use the print itself. So like it goes both ways.
That's exactly what this is. He just molds this out every time, and then.
Yep. So he probably has a master 3D print that is like the outside reversed. So he's got like the opposite side. That's probably what he printed, and then he like uses like set a cast release and probably actually pours resin masks.
Okay. I don't know what this one is, but I know it's pretty complicated. Like it's got the fan in it and all that. Like the jaw comes off, like the back of the head comes off.
Bro, I don't think any part of my head would fit inside of that. I just gotta be honest.
Dude, I tried, and it almost broke, and I was like, all right, I'm not trying anymore, because the wife will kill me if I break it. So I just stopped.
It's such a sick helmet, though, dude. I love
but only
that
she can wear it, so it's frustrating to stare at it. Like I can't walk around in it. It really makes me mad.
Yeah, but that second sister helmet is like super sweet, though.
Yeah, dude, and like the guy that does it, he did a cat costume for me like way back in the day. I think like 10 plus years ago, and I knew that he was like the helmet guy, and so I went to him privately, and I'm like, dude, I know you're a Star Wars fan and you mainly do like Marvel stuff, but you'd be interested in this. I haven't seen one that I like yet. And he goes, yeah, but don't tell anyone I did it, because he's like, I don't want to get hit up with everybody that wants one. Because the process to make this thing, he said it was just such a huge pain, because he had to figure out a good way for the jaw to clamp in. Yeah. Because all the ones that exist out there, it stops here, but that's not accurate. Accurate is right up to the neck.
Yep.
And so he had to figure out some way to do it. And he's like, I just don't want to do it again. He's like, I absolutely do not want to do it again. So, but yeah, dude, we're happy with it. The fans and stuff are cool. It doesn't keep you cool, but it definitely keeps it from fogging up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Becca's happy with it for sure.
I love it. We have a couple questions in here. For me as a consumer, would say Etsy is pretty good for stands and blade plugs. Like I've found some pretty cool stuff on there.
Oh, I just bought about a month ago. I just bought like 4 blade plugs off of Etsy.
Okay.
So yeah, absolutely, and they were great.
Benji, I want to build helmets more than sabers.
Dude, helmets are their own game. I'm telling you, I have six helmets now. So dude, it happens
Well, and
fast.
if you get good at it, you can charge a pretty penny. Like, I mean, some helmets go upwards of $1,000 themselves each. So
That's
I mean,
insane.
like if you get into it and you get good at it, you can make a whole business out of just making helmets.
Well, we talked about that before we started, like that.
Yeah.
Porter Mock and then JMC, because I was going to go to JMC for Return of the Jedi.
Love it.
And I missed out on his run because he only does 10 at a time and he does like 1 a month. So 10 months later is when you can get one.
Yeah.
And so the time was coming up recently and I'd set an alarm every day at like 6 a.m., noon, and then 3 o'clock so that I could like check the forums. And somehow I missed it. Like he opened it up at midnight, which he never does. And I missed it. And so that dude makes a killing. Like his are about 1,500, I think, with the armor.
Yeah.
But it's done. I mean, it's fully painted and everything, so you don't have to do anything to it. It's ready to go. But yeah, they get up there quick.
Oh yeah. I mean, my Vader helmet, my Vader helmet alone was like $1,000.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like just the helmet alone.
The helmet?
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see this.
But his is straight from the original cast from A New Hope. That's why. The dude has the cast from A New Hope, and that's what his is.
Yeah.
That's why it's that expensive.
Yeah. So the helmet was actually cast off the original. Oop, I lost my camera. So that's very.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that is insane. Holy.
So it's literally got all the asymmetry and everything.
That's wild.
So it was literally made directly off a casting, like directly off the original A New Hope dome and mask.
So fitting your head in there, that's got to be like, it's pretty fun, huh?
Yeah, no, it's not too bad because it's like,
dude, that is sick. That is awesome, dude. I love this.
Is it hard to see?
It's actually not too bad, but what makes it difficult to see is I wear glasses. So I don't have contacts right now. So if I got contacts, I'd be able to see. Like what makes it hard to see out of it is I'm not wearing my glasses, not the visibility out of the helmet.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Look at the visor for this, bro.
Yeah, let me go put my helmet on. Just kidding. I'm the only one here without one. Well, wait. Matt, do you have a helmet?
No.
Okay, Matt and I are both helmetless. Let's go. Although Matt did show me this really cool concept of a Star Killer Inquisitor.
Yep.
I want that. I want that bad. It's real cool. It's like my 2 favorite things. Variety, you posted any TikTok videos with that? Yeah, didn't you just post?
Yeah, I've actually done a whole bunch of Vader videos at this point. Well, not a whole bunch. I've done, I don't know, 5 or 6 Vader videos on TikTok now. So the whole costume's all done, and I've got a number of TikTok videos that are like really, really high quality, show off the costume. So
yeah, I'm guessing. Do you film with whatever that is behind you usually? Yep.
That's my backdrop, and I've got like actual like filmography lighting and stuff. Because I mean, I've done YouTube videos as well. So like when I did the breakdown video and introduction on the Mom of All Heroes Veracity hilt, I did all that filming as well.
Oh,
and
nice.
So I filmed that at my house, and like all the photography of like when we published all the glamour photos that went up for when the MOM went for sale. I did all of that photography. So I've got pretty decent photography setup and filmography stuff. So
all right, awesome. That's cool. Like I could tell from I just seen it through your Instagram. I'm not on TikTok a lot, but when I seen it, I was like, wow, like that's like extremely cool quality. Like it looked like staged, like you have like a stage there and everything. So it's definitely legit. I will say I definitely, like I think I said before, I definitely want to dabble in some of this cosplaying, especially with me having Riley at my disposal. I'm a huge anime weeb, so like I have more things that I like to make cosplay of, but like I've been thinking of like adding like for instance, I want to do like a Rurouni Kenshin / like something to do with Star Wars, and like, you know, especially with Visions coming out, I'm like, oh yes, let me get on this before. So like definitely want to dabble more into it. Speaking of that, just to go a little off subject, I know Matt's is like the what's the series called? The new one, the new comic one that you like, the
Invincible.
Invincible. Like I know Matt's is Invincible, and I know Zach is Game of Thrones and a bunch of other stuff like that. What makes you a little more excited, like on the nerd end, Jeremy and Adam, like besides Star Wars? Like, is there anything else like you dabble in, like Marvel or anime, or if not, it's cool, but if you have any.
I definitely do. So I'm also a big anime fan.
Yes.
I love anime. Like actually one of my first cosplays 15 years ago was from an anime called Hakuogi.
Okay.
And it's basically set like in the sunset of the samurai, like in the late 1800s. That was actually one of my first cosplays. And then also, aside from that, my other big fandom besides Star Wars is Legend of Zelda.
Okay. Ooh, awesome. Yes.
I'll go get it because I actually have another really insane Legend of Zelda artifact, which is super cool.
I love this.
This blew up the internet when it first was done. So I have a friend that's a sabersmith in Australia, and I designed one of the world's first, like, true, honest to God, real Legend of Zelda swords in partnership with him. So he forged it. I did all the design.
Oh, it's a master sword. Dude.
And it's all, so on the subject of acid etching, this is where I learned my electro acid etching, because my sabersmith friend, that's what he does. This is all electro etched.
Dude, so even the sheath alone is insane looking.
Yeah,
wow.
Crazy.
So when this was first done, that blew up the internet. It was originally done in 2013.
Oh wow.
And literally, like, it got like, I think it was something like 5 million views on Kotaku or something like that when it first published, like when the pictures of this first hit.
Dude,
it's like the Zelda fandom just went crazy.
That's wild. I love Zelda and like all the new Wii game. I'm sorry. Gosh, I can't believe I just said that. The new Switch game. I really wanted to play a lot, but I sold my Switch beforehand. But as far as like one of my buddies, he at work, he said if he was ever to get a custom built lightsaber, he wanted a Master Sword lightsaber. I was like, dude,
someone's done one. I saw
insane.
one not that long. I don't remember who did it, but I saw one and I'm like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is.
Blue Force Sabers. Adam's done one of a Link saber before.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't like exactly like die cast of like a broadsword.
No, I know, but it was totally a like Legend of Zelda Master Sword inspired saber, and it had like etching of the Triforce on it and some other stuff on it. And I was like, oh my god, that is so sick.
Yeah, that's the same guy John got his hilt through them, right? Didn't John Phoenix Jedi or whatever? Or did he get one from
Sam's got one from him too. That was the
okay.
He got the Witch King Neopixel from Adam, and then I have my Voldemort one too. Watch, let me pull that out. I got too much stuff here.
Which I don't understand why I don't see this Voldemort one more. This thing looks sick.
This is like my bottle of fine wine lightsaber, and it's CFX. And
you're talking Harry Potter.
Yes.
Oh, what?
Dude.
The wife's a little bit of a fanatic. So.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's pretty rad, man.
We don't talk about that all that often. We should.
So this is 3D.
I mean, look at sick, Zach.
Right? Is it not? And then it looks like one of the towers from like Hogwarts, like, and then it has the Deathly Hallows right there. And then
that is cool.
He did this custom blade plug, so it just looks like magic. So watch, I'll pull the kill key up. He also did a Voldemort font for me.
What? Okay, that's cool.
And so like it has the quote. So.
That's awesome.
After tonight, no one will ever again question my powers. After tonight, if they speak of you, they'll speak only of value.
That is so sick.
Oh, that's cool.
And then you can hold it down. Too much fun.
Too much fun.
Dude, that's crazy. Like, of course we have the.
Ooh,
fantastic.
yes.
Oh yeah. I
You
never
guys
know which
breaking
way
out
to
the
go.
swords?
Yeah, things have gotten real. The
I went smaller. I went with
the last stretch of this stream, I'm getting nerdy.
The full nerdom,
You're
the
next,
full-
Jeremy. Don't you
we're
worry.
fully nerdy out now. That's where we're at.
I don't
There-
have
that-
wands. That
That's
looks
my one.
sick, dude.
This is
Yeah, that's
Dumbledore's
pretty cool.
one from the Fantastic Beasts series.
Oh, okay.
The wood's like all twisty and
So before he gets the Elder Wand.
yeah. And then this is my wand stand. I had, you know me, I'm bougie. I had to go all out.
That thing is sick, dude.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So, Jeremy, what
Dude.
tickles your fancy of nerds? Is it nothing? Is it only
Dude,
Star Wars?
I'm looking around and it's all lightsabers.
I know something
but
that
Predator.
Jeremy likes.
Predator, right?
Yeah, Predator.
I do like
I was
Predator.
just
Yeah.
gonna say
Ooh,
Man, that
Jeremy
is so
likes
sweet, dude.
Predator.
I love it, dude. I love
That's
it.
awesome.
So, as
Yeah,
far as Predator, like, did you just get into it? Because, like, when you were a kid, or have you like just
that's
you get-
sweet.
did you get into
Yeah,
it
I
when you were older?
saw it when I was a kid when
Yeah.
it came out. You know, if you go back and watch them now, if you haven't seen them when they first came out,
Oh, I
and you
did.
try to watch them now, it's not so good, right?
Oh, I still
Oh, that's still
love-
good, just for
No.
different reasons.
No,
I
Yeah.
watched
Yeah, it's
one.
still good just from a nostalgia. So, as an
Yeah.
installer, Jeremy, have you ever done the whole like self-destruct armband thing that cycles with the? Because you
No.
like, there's no reason you
What?
couldn't.
You should.
Why not?
Yeah.
Bro.
You could totally make one of those with like the sequence of the symbols.
That would be
and stuff.
sweet.
You've got all the skills. With
You
the
could
Dude,
do
make
it,
the
bro.
full arm. Put the
Yeah.
lightsaber in the arm. That'd be legit.
Oh, dude,
Oh.
that
That's how you
would be
display it.
sick.
Yeah.
Jeremy's like, yeah, y'all think I have too much time on my hands. That's what it is.
Oh, he's got that. He's got that. Now I'm thinking about it. Look.
Yeah, you should, dude. That'd be sick.
I like to
Have
make
you
the full
guys-
suit. Yeah.
Have you guys ever like done installs on anything like, because like I know like Benji, like in the blasters and stuff, like have you guys ever done like any like the thermal grenades or like anything like that? Or
I mean, I was the one who built the Profi blaster support. So the Profi blaster stuff, like that's
Ooh.
my code. So I've done a blaster. I actually built so from Overwatch, I built Mercy's broom from like the Halloween skin of Mercy from Overwatch. Thermal detonators, and I built a like set of Archangel wings before using like servos and stuff. Yeah, 13-foot articulated Archangel wings.
dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you go to like big cons or anything like that, like Dragon Con or anything like that?
I want so badly to go to Dragon Con this year because there's a
Yeah.
big TikTok meetup happening there.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'll make it this year, but I would love to. But yeah, I've been to San Diego Comic-Con a few times. I've done all the big cons here. I've never been to Dragon Con, but it's on my bucket list.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Like just like exactly what Benji just said. Like I loved like when he did his custom prop, like of his chainsaw and stuff like that. Speaking of, Matt might remember the name of him. The guy on Etsy that made like the Black and Decker drill lightsaber thing. Did you see that?
Oh, I saw
Nick
that.
Krasinski or something like that.
Was so sick. Like I'm sorry,
was.
but that was so cool.
That
I was like,
cool.
what is
The whole
going
color-
on?
The whole color pattern and everything for it. Yeah, that was awesome. I also really love the Stormtrooper one too. Like I've always liked that Stormtrooper.
I got one coming from
like
Armand,
I've always
Armand
loved
Fire.
that for some reason.
Which Stormtrooper one?
The TK lightsaber.
What?
So it was a concept that they had done like before Star Wars is even made.
Before Star Wars, yeah.
Stormtroopers were going to have lightsabers.
Yep.
And so there's a concept out there, and then they took the concept further in one of the Now Legends books.
Okay.
Where some of the Stormtroopers actually did have lightsabers.
I'm literally doing a video right now on YouTube where I said like the saber I just unboxed, I felt like would be like a regular commissioned Stormtrooper saber, and I just posted a picture like because I'm editing the video now. It's like a comic strip, and there was like a bunch of troopers with like green sabers, and I was like, oh, I thought this was just an idea.
So
it's actually part of
been done.
Lucas's writings.
Yeah.
Wow.
That Stormtroopers were going to have shields and lightsabers.
That would have been sick.
Because their shields were going to basically be like blaster glass or the lightsaber glass.
Okay.
That, like deflect lightsabers and blaster bolts, and they were going to be running around with lightsabers.
Rip.
Would have been so sick.
But I got one of those coming from Armand Fire. You know how he redoes it. So his commission list, though, dude, was 6 months. So we're finally coming up on the 6 month. Like,
I'm jealous, Matt. I'm actually legitimately jealous of you.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that. Like the fact that he took it on, I was lucky because he said he was like, I'm cutting it off, and I was like, okay, I'll buy it right now. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
So as soon as I get that, I will post pictures all over. But
yeah, I want to see that.
It's gonna be cool.
It took me a while to find this, but I installed this guy.
Yes, I was gonna say. I remember you did
that
last
is
year.
sick. Yeah, I think I've
Nevin
seen that.
made that. Yeah, Nevin made it over at Space Junk, and I installed that guy. It was interesting.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it was fun. There's a rifle coming my way, I guess, too, to match this.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
A rifle? That sounds exciting.
Dude.
That what's it called? Jesse posted a while ago. That dude that had the scope that does like, oh my god, that thing still just gets me, dude.
Tramp?
Like it looks
Tramp, right?
Yeah, something like
Tramp,
that.
yep.
Yeah, it's
Somebody, I think Matt. It was either Matt McGeary or somebody else. Did a tricorder. They basically retrofitted one of those old toy tricorders from.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool.
Put a Profi in that with a bunch of accent pixels and stuff. Like that was amazing, and built the whole tricorder sound and everything.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's sick. So I guess as far as props then, so Jeremy, is the blaster the only one you've done, or have you done any like the thermal grenades, or has it all just been pretty much just sabers?
It's all been pretty much sabers.
Okay. What about you, Matt?
Just sabers, but me and Adam talked, I think a couple days ago or today, I can't remember. We talk nearly every day. So
We talk all the time. I don't remember.
So, I know I'm gonna install my chest box for my Vader. I'm going to put a Profi in, like, I think I want to do like 3 or 4 speakers. I'm not sure yet, but all I'm going to have is just music and quotes, and that's all it'll be. So I don't have to do the speaker or anything. So I can just press a button and have it.
Oh, dude, that would be sick.
Yeah, just make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's basically like the Micom you're just basically building a Micom, but for Vader instead of Kylo.
Right.
So talk to Tom Tillmore. He goes by Meg2 Sith.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so talk to Tom because he does a lot of the Micom stuff. Like he'd totally be able to help you out build basically a Vader Micom out of a Profi, which is what you're doing.
Right.
So,
Total brain fart there for me. I was all, that name sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
We need to
talk to Tom.
Trying to find electronics for this guy.
Oh, that's sick, Jared. That's one of those tracking fobs, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to install one for Jeff, but I've got no idea what to put in it. So I'm like, let's just give me a few to think on it. It's pretty small. I don't know what to do.
Benji, didn't he just make blink? Didn't he just make a couple of them, like the little blinking ones for whatever? He's doing like a city, like something for his city or something coming up. I seen it on like Instagram or Facebook today. He had a bunch of little tracking fobs he made. It's pretty sick.
I didn't see that. I'll have to check it out.
He'll be able to comment.
I have Benji blocked on all social media, so I don't know.
Jeremy's like, I've had him blocked. No, I'm just kidding.
Benji who?
Oh, man.
It's so funny. But yeah, before we got about another 30 minutes here. I know we've kind of gone over like harsh installs. What is like the absolute easiest install? Like what just is like you look at it and you're like, this is going to be like not just
MHS.
Jeremy being able to doing it in,
MHS.
10 seconds. But
MHS all-in-one chassis.
is that
MHS.
really?
Yeah, those are always so easy.
Because it's always a standard diameter, right? It's like 1.25 inch. The Goth all-in-one chassis makes everything like all there in one spot. Wire management is a snap. Yeah, that's probably like hands down the easiest install.
So, for instance, if like that was going to be like, like if you're trying to start off doing installs yourself, if you're just trying to find one, that would probably be, I guess, like the one to really.
Yeah, I mean, just don't get any of like the crazy choke pieces from MHS that choke things down, like that change your diameter. But if you build just like an MHS component hilt and then a Goth all-in-one chassis, like you're done. It's probably legitimately the easiest install there is.
All right. And is that usually like primarily like most people? Now, is that like a lot of MHS builds, or is it just or like do any like the custom Saber shop ones are like they pretty like easy to deal with, or is that like where it starts getting into like having to custom do like chassis and whatnot?
There's certain ones like it depends on the parts that they pick, right? If they start picking funky parts where it goes from 1.24 to 1.15 to 1 inch or however, like then it can get a little funky. Yeah. I mean, but honestly, like the MHS parts though, like out of anything are usually pretty simple to figure out.
Yep. Like I love playing with those parts because they're like so configurable and you can make so many different designs. Like I literally have a box full of just random MHS parts. And I'm like, I just like, sometimes I'll get the box out and then I'll just like screw different pieces together to see if I can come up with some cool design that I haven't done before.
Okay. That's really cool.
It's just fun. They're like MHS is fun.
Now, would you say as far as a builder standpoint, is it funner to do something canon, or do you like when somebody wants, something custom done, like something just off the wall? Like, because I know I've seen like, especially on Jeremy, like, dude, some of those ones you have that have like the bone look on it, and like, dude, those are just
that bullhorn that one time,
bro, insane looking. Like, do you feel like really excited more about those, or do you like going with the canons?
Oh,
what is that
thing? This one I finished up today. So personally, I like it when they want to go all out, and it's very unique, and they want accents here and there.
Okay.
Make sure I didn't put that battery in backwards.
That would be hilarious.
I'll never live it down.
Ooh, jeez,
Louise.
Saber.
What? And there's one at the bottom. What is
that, dude?
Oh, that's sick.
That
is my favorite.
Yeah, I can see. That's sick, dude. What hilt is that?
This was made by Nevin, so it's just a one-off kind of a fallen order type of hilt with an exposed crystal chamber, and then I got some accents in the switch. I got one accent in the switch box, and then
at the bottom,
put an accent right here, just in front of the speaker.
Dude, I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm really liking some of those like recessed speakers where they're putting the pixel like shining off the speaker cone. So my Vader Sith Lord chassis is set up like that, where there's a pixel that basically reflects off the speaker cone and gives you like backlighting. I'm loving that chassis are starting to do that. Like that's just cool.
Yeah, definitely. As far as you, Matt and Adam, like, do you guys like to go in the canon route, or do you like when it's like the off the wall stuff?
For my personal builds, all I have is canon. I don't have anything non-canon. But for customers, if it's a custom MHS and you want me to go wild with it, I like doing that all day, because I'm not going to keep it, and it's cool just to like play around and kind of play in that sandbox a little bit,
Yeah.
Like somebody recently wanted that MHS Scrap Flex with DEFCON bird wrap. Like that was a lot of fun to play with. Like I wouldn't keep it for my personal collection, but that was a lot of fun to play with.
Oh yeah, definitely. What about you,
I'm the same. Like I have a couple of customs, but most of my personal collection are all Canon sabers.
Okay.
and I just tend to work in the Canon Saber world more. I mean, I would love to do customs. I've had a couple of custom clients though, that's like, you know, where I'm willing to like do the CAD design and actually machine custom hilts.
Mm-hmm.
And there, like, there's been times where it's like, well, I don't like that, and it's like, okay, well, I just spent 6 hours on a custom design that you gave me greenfield on, and then I gave you something. You're like, no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've got probably like 3 dozen designs that had started out as, you know, straw men to a custom client.
Yeah.
That they then poo-pooed. And so, like, now they're just sitting in my CAD folder, like, but they're not something we'd ever do a run of because, like, they're not canon. Nobody would ever want it.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, I mean, I custom gets a little tricky, I think, from that. So I tend to stick to canon.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm guessing same as a collector as well, more so canon, I'm guessing.
I have, like I said, I have a couple of customs. So one of my favorite non-canon designs is actually made by Dark Force Sabers. It's called the Transcendence.
Okay.
That's actually a really cool hilt. And I have the blood-soaked, like, coloring version, so it's got like red, black, and silver on it.
Oh, okay.
It's actually really, really, really sweet. And then I have another custom that I made for myself that is a combination of custom machine parts that I made and MHS parts.
Okay.
So it's got like an MHS pommel and main body, one replica's low profile control box, and then I like lathed a copper grenade section.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
And then it's got kind of a Graflex or Star Killer kind of flared shroud.
Oh, wow.
At the front, like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And so, like, that's kind of half and half custom, but it's
Okay.
it's kind of an OT. It's like an OT inspired custom design. So it's very OT feel, but it's not canon.
Okay. That's really cool. Now, I'm guessing everybody here, like, is weird. I might be the oddball on it. Like, is everybody more of a obvious canon fan, or like, do you guys like the Kotar, Sotar, Legends type of stuff, or do you just?
Oh no, I love it all.
Okay.
I love it all.
Yeah, I love it all too.
For me, it's I love the canon stuff, but it's mainly because I've liked props since I was real little. So it's the prop aspect that draws it to me.
Okay.
It's the history of how it was made. Like, I think that's why I'm drawn to all the Luke sabers from Return of the Jedi, is just because there's so much history there. And because they use so many different ones and they have all these different reasons, and like that's really what draws me in. But like the one exception that's technically not canon anymore is GCS's Bane. Like, if I could get a hold of that.
Oh,
Oof.
Rob's Bane was amazing.
Yeah. If I could get that I think that's my unicorn. So it would be that Bane. If I could get that Bane, I think I'd be set. I don't think I'd collect anymore. Like that one is like, I'd give my left testicle for that one. Like that.
Oh wow! All right, yeah.
Look at Genesis.
Yeah,
Genesis Custom Saber's Bane. Like, that was an amazing hilt.
Yeah,
Genesis Custom Sabers. I hear that name every time I get on with like people.
What does that go with now? That goes for what, like $3,000 at least?
Yeah, his Bane is like $3,000, something like that.
Yeah,
but it's gorgeous saber. It's so gorgeous though.
Save up for a house.
Lightsaber, dude. I swear to God, that's the one thing, and I will stress it. I'm sure everybody here will agree. Do not go in debt for lightsabers, please.
That's real talk.
For the love of God, do not.
Shout out to Jake over at Gin and Tonic. He preaches this all
Don't
the time.
open that credit card for a lightsaber, bro. It's not worth it. Like, oh gosh, just wait it out. Because there was a kid I seen in a lightsaber group like a little bit after Christmas time, and this kid was like every paycheck. He's like, all right, well, I got to each week. He's like, yo, I got $200. What can I get? Profi NeoPixel, and obviously it's a dead post. Next week, all right, I got $350, and I'm like, oh my God. And then sure as shit, the next Friday, dude's like, all right, I got to $550. This is as far as I'm going. It's like, dude, why don't you just wait a little bit? Do some research. Like, oh man, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I don't see it. Like, I wouldn't want to live paycheck to paycheck to buy a lightsaber.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It's a little ridiculous. But, if you got it, do it. If not, you know, these dudes will take your money for sure.
Yeah, I'm not checking to see if you're using credit or not.
Yeah,
I won't know the difference.
Whatever. PayPal
See,
credit.
that's where I come in with my used salesman pitch. I'm like, well, you're gonna need a Saber chest to keep it safe. Let me show you. Let me show you what I got.
Oh, you're that guy, Zach.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
Got to have a Saber stand in a box.
There's all these accessories. Oh, sound fonts. Okay, let me teach you something, but you can't do it yourself. And if you did, until they find out they can, it's like, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, dude, gosh. I would say I like most, as I'm looking at my lightsabers, most of my lightsabers are canon hilts. That's not intentional, but I really do like mixtures of universe stuff. Like obviously I have my Game of Thrones, clone trooper helmet. I have this Voldemort lightsaber. Like that really is something big for me. So I would say for me personally, my end all saber, I think honestly I would be content would be if I could get this actually broadsword style looking long claw from Game of Thrones as a lightsaber. A hilt. I think that would be the point where I'm like, all right, I'm done. I don't need anything else. I love this sword. And honestly, as far as mythical weapons and there's so much other stuff much stronger than it, I love this sword.
Yeah, it's what you
love this sword. Yeah, so that's big for me for sure. Maybe even a scrap flex, I would think. Maybe that pommel with the grip with a scrap, something along. I don't know, something like that. But yeah,
well,
that'd be dope.
I mean, I think it'd be cool.
A guy can dream, dude.
It can happen. That's the craziest thing. You have a Voldemort saber, dude. That's wild. Anything is possible, man. That's what I.
Looks like real bone too. Bro, I'm like, dude.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yeah.
Dude.
I killed a man for this. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't ask. I just paid.
So I wonder why there was a weird deposit number, but it's fine.
It's all good, man.
But anywho, all right, boys, we got all 4 minutes. Go ham. What, Matt? Do you have any questions? Since you're Mr. Co-host here, or does that any questions for?
You're doing
Jeremy
such a good job that
I feel like I'm doing terrible, honestly.
Oh, Matt's not gonna have any questions for me. He I talk to Matt every day. Oh, you could tell the story about the first time we talked and how you geeked out to Becca. You ran to Becca.
So I ran to Becca. I go, I'm talking to Adam from Seven Chambers or from Veracity Labs. She goes, okay.
Dude, honestly, this man right here, Jeremy, legitimate. So we're talking about me getting that Starkiller and everything, and I am sitting on the couch, and my wife is doing laundry, watching TV, and she looks over, and I'm glasses off, ugly girl crying, she's what happened? She's like, did someone die? She was legitimate because I'm a sensitive guy, but I was ugly, crying, and she's like, what? And I show her, I can't even explain, I just show her, and I'm like, I'm getting this, and she's just like it's pretty, and I'm like, no, this is mine. It's you don't get me. You don't get me.
That's so funny, dude. But it's the truth, man. It's we talked about this earlier before you got on, Zach. It's getting that custom hilt done or custom lightsaber that you wanted done to, your particular liking. There's, as far as being in this kind of community and this being your hobby, there really is no better feeling. I mean, I'm sure for maybe installers, it's a little different, or people that are working on them. I'm sure the satisfactory of not only building it, but then seeing the reaction, that's definitely, or seeing how happy the customer is. Or for instance, when Adam said with the charity, right? It's that's gotta be amazing. Especially for, have you guys, obviously besides the charity thing, I heard from Adam, but I'm sure there's gotta be some kids or, maybe people that are older, in their 50s plus that have been into lightsabers their entire life. And it's got to feel good. It's got to be and I'm sure the stories that follow it, and then even the friendships, it's got to be, There's no price on that.
I'd say the one that sticks out for me is this guy Chris Fair, and like he's not big in the community at all. He grew up with his dad, like playing with lightsabers, like the old telescoping ones, right?
Yep.
And now that's something that he does with his daughter. And so
I remember you telling me this. Yep.
That was like, it was the coolest story. Like he's like, Vader's always been my favorite character. He had got one from a company, I won't say which. I had to fix it up for him. And then after that, he's like, well, I really want Qui-Gon too. Like, okay, send it this way. We'll take care of you. So we did that. And now I'm working on his daughter's Leia. And like, that's just such a cool, like, he actually plays with them, with his daughter. We still stay in contact. He sends me the videos when they play. Like, that's the cool part. Like, me and him are like, it's customer and installer, but we're more friends than anything.
Yeah.
And it just, he'll always have a special place with installs for me because he was one of the first. And he just is so appreciative. So, like, anytime he needs an install, it's always an instant, yeah, man, I got room for you no matter what. But I mean, that's the cool one. Like, especially that he plays with his daughter with it, because that's something, that's a special thing that I get to say, like, I helped him fulfill. So I don't know. But
that's awesome.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And I'm, like, obviously it goes with anything being said, like putting in the amount of time you are into this, this not even really a hobby at this point for most of you guys, like your job, career, even if it's a side business, whatever it is, it's some sort of income for yourself. So it's like, it's definitely, like everybody says, your work's always better when you love to do what, you love to do, like, especially if it's for work. And as far as like, like all these people that you're meeting and all like their stories you're hearing and the fact that you are changing, as weird as it is, something in their life, that's just got to be such a rewarding thing. And for me, as someone that's, a consumer and someone that, loves buying these lightsabers, I truly appreciate you guys and like all the work you guys do, not only just the installs, but the time you take out of your days to just talk to us. Like, we can't just, besides going to like a Best Buy or something, you can't just go to somewhere and be like, hey, can you tell me about this product? And they're going to really want to tell you about it. Or, hey, like, I'm going to have this built. Like, when I go to a car shop, they'll tell you the details. They're not going to tell you full in-depth what everything's going on. And you guys just seem, and I'm not just speaking of all installers. I'm just saying right now, individually, you guys, like, really appreciate you guys, the amount of effort and time you put into this community to make this a revolving door of positivity and people wanting to come back for more. Like, not just, hey, this was one Saber, I'm one and done. Like, I feel like because of guys like you, that's physically impossible because once you see the next cool one that comes out, it's all right, well, I guess I'll get another one. And I feel like it's because of you guys. Like, it keeps things moving in a positive motion. And I really appreciate that.
But I think it's full circle with that, though. Like, without you two as well, we also wouldn't exist.
Yeah,
right?
no, of course.
Like, the fact that you guys are so appreciative and enjoy what we do makes it possible for us to do what we love to do. So it's full circle. Like, we appreciate you guys just as much as you appreciate us. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah,
so.
That's totally true. I mean, even with the veracity stuff, like the reaction of the community is what really crystallized the fact that we're not stopping. We're going to keep going as long as the road will go. Because like when we first did it, we were like, let's see how the community reacts and see if we'll do another hill. And based on how everybody received them, we were like, yep, we're doing this. Let's go.
Yep.
Gas, pedal to the floor, baby.
Yep, dude. All gas, no brakes. Just going in. Oh, man, I love saying that, by the way. All gas, no brakes, baby. But anyways, well, with all that being said, before we officially get off, please, anybody that is watching this, I have links in my description to this video to each and every one of these individuals. Besides Zach, you can follow him on Instagram and on YouTube under Raven's Nerd Nest now, correct? It is Nerd's Nest for sure now. Mm-hmm. So Nerd's Nest. And then links all around, and every single one of my guests, thank you so much for coming on. If you'd like to just give a quick shout out once again around the room, start with Matt, go to Adam, Jeremy, then Zach, that would be much appreciated.
Again, Babu Saber's installer. I've said it numerous times. Let those guys take the floor. I appreciate those two coming in. Appreciate you, Zach, you coming in as always. But Jeremy, Adam, taking time out of your day when you could be working. I appreciate it,
Thank you so much.
Play from Veracity Labs, and I had a blast. Like, I love talking to you. Invite me back anytime.
Would love to have you again, man. Would love to have you again.
So much fun.
Jeremy from Solo Sabers, and yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course,
both
man.
of you.
Yeah, no, it was a great night, and once again, having this Ask the Installer series, like I really love seeing everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your night and day to come in and talk with us and ask these awesome questions. This is why we're here, and I'm just so happy that all these people can come together and we can just hang out, have a good time, talk shop, and make new friends at the end of the day. So, thank you everybody for watching Ask an Installer. And we'll see you next time, first Wednesday of every month. So we'll see you next month. And thank you to everybody for coming. Bye.